Okay. Good morning, everyone. As we had mentioned, we will try to start sharp on time in respect of everyone's time. I'm going to request Dr. Rajesh and Dr. Vandana to please do the invocation. Oh, Dr. Vandana, you're on mute.
I'm sorry about that. Thank you, Dr. Pratibha. I invoke Lord Ganesha, who is the remover of all obstacles. Shuklambaradharam Vishnum Shashivardham Chaturbhujam Prasannavadanam Dhyayet Sarva Vignopashante. Om. Dr. Rajesh, over to you.
Dr. Vandana. Ayam bandhuryam neti ganna laghu chetasam udar charitanam tu vasudhaiva kutumbakam. Means the whole world is one single family. This concept of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam is deeply imbibed in Indian philosophy, which is inherently connected with Ayurveda. This statement is not just about peace and harmony. Rather, by contemplating this idea and by at least trying to live by it and practice it in our lives, we could make this world a better place. This industry conclave meeting organized by CAR is a pure and honest effort to this idea. Thank you. Dr. Vandana.
So we start this event by introducing Dr. Pratibha, although she needs no introduction. But I have this profound pleasure to introduce you to all Dr. Pratibha Shah, our dynamic founder, President of Council for Ayurveda Research. She is an alumni of NIA Jaipur and was Chief Medical Officer at Ayush before moving to USA. She completed her MPH from Boston University, a dynamic leader, speaker, educator, clinician, and mentor to many. She guides with love and compassion. She is the driving force behind this untraveled path. Please welcome Dr. Pratibha Shah.
Okay, sorry, someone, may I request Dr. Katya ji or Ranjit ji to give link to Dr. Deepika Gunawan? She's not able to join. Sorry about that. So, okay. Yeah, thank you. Okay, thank you, Dr. Vandana. Sorry about the interruption. So good morning and a very warm welcome to all dignitaries, industry heads, and other esteemed delegates. It's my privilege and pleasure to host you on this platform today. I'm really excited for the conversation to start, but I will take just a few minutes of your time to introduce the organization and provide some context for today's gathering in very few words. First, about the organization. I founded Council for Ayurveda Research in 2012. So it's been 10 years this year, so big milestone, with the vision to promote and establish Ayurveda as an evidence-based health science globally. In 2018, I registered our group as a 501c3 nonprofit. The question may arise, why another organization or one more platform? My response is that nonprofits are positioned and equipped uniquely, as we do not have the constraints of a typical government setup, nor the pure commercial goals of a private organization. Plus, having been in the Ayush ministry for 13 years and now in private practice for 17 plus years, I thought I was myself uniquely positioned to carve a new path forward while also taking and giving support to existing initiatives. Today, I would like to acknowledge all the people who have joined on the way for some time or longer time and added body and roots to CAR's vision. As of now, we are a strong group of 40 plus professionals in various roles and capacities across 2 countries, USA, and India. We registered our sister NGO in 2018 in India under the name of Ayurveda Anusandhan Abhiyan Foundation, or AAAF for short. For some of the glimpses of work so far, please check our website. Dr. Rajesh, can you please share the URL of our website in the chat for the convenience of all our dignitaries? Thank you. Now to set some context for today's gathering. The vision for a global think tank with a continuum of connection and collaboration. I will say this one more time because each word is well thought and appropriate and talks about the vision accurately. So once again, the vision for a global think tank with a continuum, not one time and no continuity, with a continuum of connection and collaboration has been brewing for some time. So what you see today, Dr. Mahadevan, would you kindly mute anybody who's on unmute? There's some background.
Sure.
Thank you. So what you see today is in this very first meeting of the industry conclave did not happen overnight. It has taken a lot of rumination, effort, and energy to envision and establish what you're seeing today. I would sincerely like to thank Dr. C.K. Katiyar and Sri Ranjit Puranik for indulging my passion and fervor, meeting with me frequently and helping shape this forum today. At this time, I'm going to request Dr. Rajesh to put a link to the Industry Conclave Charter. We have developed a very broad charter for the Industry Conclave. Dr. Rajesh, if you could put that in the chat box. Thank you. Lastly, let me quickly and humbly add that what I'm doing, or rather what is going to define this platform. And here are just a few words that are going to provide some outline of this initiative. The very first is a spirit of collaboration and communication. Again, all of these words have been chosen carefully. So a spirit of collaboration and communication, a genuine effort to listen and respect thought processes different from our own, honest introspection, realism rather than illusion of past glory, practicality, pragmatism, and a problem-solving attitude and approach. I'm happy to announce that we already have a robust advisory board as well as a steering committee for the conclave. And at this time, I'm going to quickly read out the names. So in the advisory board, we have acceptance from Dr. C.K. Katiyar Ranjit Puranik Dr. Geeta Krishnan Kartikeya Baldwaya Dr. Dilip Ghosh Dr. Ikhlas Khan Dr. Amit Agrawal Dr. Rangesh Parmesh Praveen K. Mittal and Dr. Joban Modha And in the steering committee, we have acceptance from Dr. Jayarajan Dr. Jayagopal Parla Dr. Vivek Shanbag and Harpinder, my dear friend, and myself and Dr. Mahadevan will be there in the steering committee as well, as long as we are needed. So we do have now a kind of a steering committee and a advisory to reach out to. So with that, I would like to express deep gratitude to each and every one of you for taking time out of your very busy schedules to bless this effort, to contribute to this effort, and to make the vision of a collaborative global platform a reality. I end with deep gratitude and great hope for success of this collaborative vision. Thank you. And with that, I would like to invite Dr. Mahadevan to introduce our keynote speaker for today, Dr. Joban Modha. Dr. Mahadevan.
Yes, I just want to spotlight him.
I can do that. You can go ahead.
Okay. Namaste, everybody. It is my pleasure to introduce Vaidya Joban Modha. Are you able to spotlight him?
Yes, I'm doing it.
Okay. So who's currently serving as the Deputy Director, Institute of Teaching and Research in Ayurveda, Jamnagar, Gujarat, the first institute of national importance and undertaking by Ministry of Ayush, Government of India. He holds a master's and PhD in Ayurveda and has been an ambassador for promotion of Ayurveda globally. And he has visited USA, Japan, Netherlands, Mauritius for invited lectures and speeches, and has been a member of various committees of Ministry of Ayush and served as a general body member of Gujarat Ayurveda University. Vaidya Joban Moda has served as core committee member of Ayurveda Developmental Therapeutic Program, a joint venture of Ayush Ministry and National Institute of Health in the United States. As a research scientist, he's the first and only patent holder of Gujarat Ayurveda University, and he has developed more than 350 products for various pharma companies and has vast clinical experience in the field of treating cancer and blood disorders by Ayurvedic medicines. He has published many articles in reputed international journals and served as editorial member in the reputed journal Ayu, and has been interviewed by national TV, radio channels, newspapers, and magazines. Please join me in welcoming Vaidya Joban Moda. Namaste ji.
So good morning, everyone at US, and good evening, everyone in India. Ma'am, should I start?
Yes,
should I?
Dr. Moda, you can share your screen. Please go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. I hope my slides are visible now.
Yes.
So all the respected dignitaries from all across the globe, today I am directed to have few words, maybe within 10 minutes, about the Ayush vision for product research from the globalization perspective. As I belong to the very first institute of national importance here at Jamnagar, and coincidentally it is the world's first institute for the pharmaceutical sciences and dedicated to the Ayurvedic pharmacy education right from diploma to PhD. Friends, when we talk about the education system, initially Ayurveda was taught by the Gurukul system, and now in this last 2 centuries the meaning of education has changed drastically, right from Gurukul to the classrooms, and now we have online. Right now we are from different parts of the world. Likewise, the Ayurvedic manuscripts have evolved right from manuscript to the classical books. Honorable Yadavji Trikamji Acharya did a lot in the last century, who was coincidentally first principal of our college as well. And now we are having many of these such scripts as mobile applications and so on. Ayurvedic pharmacy practices has also evolved revolutionary in last say a couple of centuries. Previously Vedyas, even I have witnessed many Vedyas, though they used to procure their raw material from the different part of their nearby areas and prepare their medicines by themselves. But nowadays in this global hub, the entire world has become a small village, and we have our own limitations and challenges and scopes, where we are preparing medicine in a corner of Himalaya or probably in the corner of Maharashtra, and it is exported throughout the globe. So in this new world, we require new definitions, new terminologies. The topic I was given was having a word product. My Ayurvedic friends may agree with me that does any Sanhita have any word, I mean, any of the, there is any similar word to product? I doubt, because in Sanhita they have always mentioned about the medicines. Whereas in 21st century, medicines have become products and patients have become consumers. Many challenges and scopes are ahead, right from establishing the existing therapeutic areas. We have new opportunities as well. And when we talk about the Ayush vision for product research, it has number of different areas. We need to have proper infrastructure for product research. We require regulatory compliances, research support for standardization of existing single drugs or polyherbal formulations, and new drug development, IP protection for all this, human capital, and quality WHO standard of good manufacturing practices. So let's have a few lines about Ayush vision for product research. Standardization of Ayush products and medicine is the, I guess, the basic core requirement of this era. Provide evidence-based solution to global bodies like WHO for existing conditions and new diseases like COVID. Cross collaboration in education, research and training, and global research. Cross collaboration to be facilitated by National Consortium. Promote interdisciplinary research to study and ensure application of Ayurvedic or Ayush drugs in targeted fields like clinical healthcare, biochemistry, lifestyle related disorders, wellness promotion, etc. Global recognition or Nobel Prizes for research in Ayush sciences. We know many of recent Nobel Prizes are having their roots to Ayurveda. Then why not from Ayurvedic science, few of the Nobel Prizes in next few years? Focus research on herbal vaccines, where right now all vaccines are animal based. And probable roadmap for that, to promote entrepreneurship and business development in Ayush is very, very important and recently identified area. And luckily in our institute, we have very young entrepreneur right from their undergraduate level. And we are working on it. I mean, even the ministry is working very sincerely to develop new entrepreneurs in upcoming decade. Establishment of 10+ Ayush research laboratories of international standards and upgradation of existing research laboratories, standardization of Ayush drugs, development of SOPs for processes, products to make our top institute at the referral center for drug testing, and standardization of all types of, I mean, especially for the safety and efficacy purpose, development of monograph of Ayurveda and other Indian traditional system products and herbal products, development of herbarium specimens and botanical references standards, phytochemical references standards, publication of peer-reviewed Ayush research in top 10 global journals, especially in traditional medicines, signing MOUs with strategic partners for targeted research, transfer of knowledge and technology, having Ayush academic chairs in foreign institutions, develop research protocols related to survey and clinical research for global standards, expansion of the scope to include application of agriculture and veterinary products as well, develop harmonized international standards for over 500+ products for humans, animals, agriculture, and I would say entire livelihood. Conduct regular clinical trials on various Ayush formulations in alignment with global practices, incentivize research to highlight the efficacy of traditional Indian medicines to at least 2 virtual centers linking Indian and international research institute, combine studies and research related activities, setting up at least 5 knowledge clusters and 5 technology clusters to cater the requirement of Ayush. Ayush as sports medicine, why can't we produce more of gold medalist Olympians with the help of Ayush as sports medicine through the general boost with Ayush nutritive supplements and medications? Ayush for defense personnel, nutraceutical supplements, etc., to address their challenges, defense challenges like extreme climatic condition and rehabilitation, etc. Ayush to contribute even to space travel, playing a significant role in palliative care by providing nutrition and other benefits. Agro-technology based on indigenous, our own Vriksh Ayurveda, development of alternative biotechnology based model. For that, recent action ministry has paved the way for strengthening the entire Ayush system, including Ayurveda and other traditional medicine products, and also enhancing their export potential, especially at US market. And this has been achieved by signing of MOU between the Pharmacopoeia Commission of Indian Medicine and Homeopathy, that is PCIMNH, and American Herbal Pharmacopoeia USA, recently in September 2021. There are few more MOUs and working groups are working for Ayush product development. As as everyone was informed about this ADTB program, it is very optimistic program between Ministry of Ayush and National Institute of Health, especially for cancer care in different areas of cancer treatment. And here I'd like to just give you one example of recent ministry initiation for COVID care. In very short notice, we are aware that we had a challenge of developing proper scientific peer review journal data and proper Ayurvedic management for COVID care. And I'm having few interesting data that total 84 manuscripts have been drafted and 21 is already published, and approximately 27 are available as preprints only for when we talk about the COVID care, Ayush product for COVID care. This is it for today from my side. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Dr. Pratibha.
Thank you, Muda sir. Thank you for that insightful presentation and deeply interesting global perspective of Ayurveda. I would further like to invite Dr. Ranjit Puranik sir, who is presently the CEO and Executive Director and MD of Shri Dhut Papeshwar Limited. He's the President of Ayurveda Prasarak Mandal. He's the Secretary of Vignan Bharati, on the board of Oriental Aromatics Limited. He's also the trustee of World Ayurveda Foundation and All India Ayurveda Congress. So over to Dr. Ranjit Puranik sir for his insight.
Thank you, Doctor. And I'll just clarify, I'm only the Managing Director of Shri Dhut Papeshwar and not all of those other designations. Doesn't matter. Friends, I assume that at least taking my own life and example into account, I have 20 more working years. And listening to Dr. Joban Moda, I can't wait for my next life also, because all those fruits I want. It's going to be enjoyable. Welcome. I have a panel which is 10 members strong and only 45 minutes and great amount of queries that we are going to be exchanging. So I'll just jump right into it. And my panel, this particular roundtable, is discussing industry and trade issues. The other two panels is research and the other one is practice. And I welcome my panelists. I have Praveen Mittalji, who's from a career in FICCI and now also a father to Ayush Export Promotion Council. He joins us from Dubai. Thank you, Praveenji. I also have Kartike Baldwa, who's again the igniter of KSM 66, innovator, if I can call you Kartike. And I have Arvind Varchasvi joining us. He's the managing director in Sri Sri Tattva, again, a global brand and somebody with a footprint in almost every geography. I also have Dr. Mr. Sanjay Srivastav. He's the CEO, as I remember last, from Maharishi Ayurveda in New Delhi, another institution and organization which has a global footprint. I also joined by Madam Harpinder Kaur of Komal Herbs. I have seen her off and on and know of her for the last decade and maybe more, and she's an importer of Ayurveda formulations. We have Dr. Virendra Sodhi. I hope he has joined. He's not only present in the United States, but also very much manufacturing in India. I have Dr. Jayarajan, who is also joining us. He's responsible for the Kerala Ayurveda operations in the United States. I also have Dr. Parla, who has set up Atreya Herbs in California, as I understand. And again, an importer of Ayurvedic medicines there. We are also joined by Dr. Somesh Kaushik, who is putting together a very wide range of Ayurveda medicines or Ayurveda dietary supplements for import and marketing in the United States. And we have Dr. Amit Guman also, who has joined us, again, an avid reseller, distributor of Ayurveda medicines, apart from being a doctor himself. My first question, and with everyone's permission, I'd like to jump into the first question. And I would like some response to come in from Mr. Sanjay Srivastav. Arvind Varchasvi can also add his own points there, Dr. Jayarajan and Madam Harpinder Kaur. The first question, or rather a query that I'll put for discussion, is what have been recent shortcomings of Ayurveda imports or with regards to exports from India related to quality and adverse reactions? Because, it's always been 2 steps forward and 4 steps backwards. So time and time again, we've had to battle this kind of publicity that comes in. And, it's been handled on a individual kind of case-to-case basis. But given your experience in looking at the past decade, how would be a more organized way to handle such kind of incidences and events? Because it's not going to be the last. And, we need a very organized kind of effort now that we are coming together on this forum, and, we need to work together towards that. So can I request either Arvindji or Jayarajanji, whoever would like to go first to address this issue? Yes, please. Sir, you're on mute.
Sorry. Namaste, everyone.
Yes,
Glad to be here. I have 2 minutes. I'm straight away going to this. There are primarily 3 issues the Ayurveda field is facing from the safety, contamination, that area. One issue is the heavy metal contamination in products imported from India, Sri Lanka, and other countries. And the recent reports from Australia, prohibition of an Ayurvedic doctor from practice due to this, and the Health Canada warning recently of toxicity, in Ayurvedic products. And yesterday, a news from the San Francisco Bay Area of a child got toxic lead toxicity from Ayurvedic product. And this is the major concern, right? Then the second part is the Ayurvedic products with the restricted toxic heavy metals sold in the US. Companies from India, they are importing and selling, whether they don't know or no, we don't know, but it is available even on the web portal. So that is second one. The third is distribution of Ayurvedic products without any screening through all the web portals, without any. These are the 3 main issues what we have currently. Now, if you ask me what are the solutions, very simple. One is tightening the regulatory framework and its strict implementation in the source countries, how to facilitate that, how we can reach various, the ministries and regulatory authorities to make sure that the system, there are rules, how it is implemented, including making it mandatory for all the exporting products to get tested by internationally accredited labs so that it can be verified at any international locations, right? Then creating monitoring councils in the countries of import, for example, the US. We need to have a neutral, all the stakeholders of Ayurvedic ecosystem. We need everybody, product distributors, manufacturers, students, practitioners, institutions. So creating a monitoring council to educate, to monitor this, and periodical assessment of the safety of the products, random testing, etc. Then educating companies in the US and helping them to remove all the heavy metal, compound products from selling in the US. Then, for the web portals, it's a very complex thing now, globalization. But still there are opportunity for the company to go, cease and desist notice to the portals supplying products to other countries. There is an opportunity for every company to go behind these. If your product is not ready for selling in the US, it is for your protection also, and for Ayurveda, and legally going and stopping the distribution of products which are not manufactured for US or other countries. So these are the primary solutions what I can see. And so it's all a collective work what we need to do together.
So Dr. Jayarajan, regulatory reach by all of us is, of course, something of a limited nature, but you are suggesting a code in operations, if I can get you right.
There should be SOPs. There should be
SOPs,
codes and SOPs
code that we kind of adhere to. Right?
Both in the exporting countries as well as the importing countries, there should be some codes and SOPs, some self-regulation, since Ayurveda is not a licensed healthcare practice in other countries, some self-regulation within the ecosystem of Ayurveda.
Can I get Sanjay Srivastav or Madam Harpinder Kaur? Would you like to add to, because we've heard about heavy metals in the past. We've probably have an Australian problem. We've had Health Canada. Now something else cropping up in San Francisco. How do we handle this in an organized fashion? How do we get ourselves to address this issue? Take it with both hands.
Sanjay ji, can you come on video, please? Thank you.
Harpinder ji, would you?
Okay, I'll start if Mr. Sanjay is not available. See, this problem has been there, as Ranjit is aware. We have been meeting and discussing this ever since we had that heavy metal report.
JAMA.
Off and on, it keeps on creeping up on us as an Ayurvedic community, here and there, sporadic incident, and then it becomes like a national or an international news. When we started this company in 2005, we were thinking of importing finished products from India and selling it in USA. But then when the regulations tightened up and we found that it is not easy to be a remote quality controller, we decided to shift the whole operations to USA. So right now we are not importing any finished products. We are only importing raw materials, which are duly tested as per the US FDA GMP norms, and then the finished products are created. So we are making everything from Chyawanprash to capsules to oils, everything in-house. Now, being in the industry, as Dr. Jayarajan just mentioned, that these incidents do affect us negatively because people call us and question us about it. And as he rightly said, that there has to be understanding between the industries in USA and in India, that there has to be unified code of conduct. As Ranjit, you were also saying that it has to be unified norm for all of us as an industry, that, okay, if we are making anything for US or for export, there have to be stringent GMP compliance in India or at the manufacturing site. Having said that, we all understand that there are intricacies in the Ayurvedic formulations, especially when in the industry where you are using Rasa Shastra products as part of your formulation. And when these particles are airborne, it's very difficult to have an airtight environment to prevent these cross contaminations. So yes, in USA, Rasa Shastra is not prevalent. Rasa Shastra is only imported from global platforms like Distacards or Amazon. where it is widely available, easily available. Now, if a person is buying through that, how far can we have a reach on that, or how far we can stop that? It's a very debatable question. Yes, Pankaj.
Harpinderji, are you suggesting we as a body write to Amazon or Instacart and caution them from not having these products in their entire distribution chain?
I will like to add there, Ranjit, that's a very good point. Amazon recently has become very stringent in USA. They have become like I should say, the worst form of US FDA regulation. You have to have a third-party GMP certification. You have to have a certificate of analysis of all finished products from a certified third-party lab before you can sell anything on Amazon USA, as far as finished products are concerned. So that is making us in USA more aware or more cautious about what we are selling on Amazon platform or any other SAP platform. But what about stuff which is coming from India?
See, there is a point of loosely we call it suitcase or informal imports. That is something very, very difficult to plug. But as a body, do we write to these major marketplace kind of congregations and really tell them that this is not something that they should encourage? Is that what you're saying?
I think we should. We should, because see, Amazon is doing its job. Amazon is taking care of this. But what about platforms which are based in India and which are catering to companies based in India to sell in global platforms? So how do you take care of that? So as an industry, we have to do something, because this is spoiling our reputation globally. Because Dr. Jayarajan just mentioned Canada, Australia, now San Francisco. Maybe we'll have some incident in Europe.
Yes. So, that point is well taken. The most important point, Praveerji, for us to note is that the Ayush Export Promotion Council should also have the same kind of reflection of code that applies to exporters as pre-shipment kind of checklist. So that's something that's very, very important. Arvindji, can I get you on your views in this matter? You may even add to the chaos of Australia Health Canada if something else has come to your mind.
Ranjitji, I feel that, what we're really discussing is more on, the end point. I would rather discuss something that, why did we get to this place right now? I feel that now that the government is more serious on the entire sector of Ayush. When I say the entire sector, both on product as well as services. So I feel that, and right now, we also have Praveenji over here, who's also looking at how this Ayush Export Promotion Council, would be made across, and housed across in FICCI. The point is that I feel that this would be a starting point to see that how all these things that what we are facing can be regulated. We would need a single window sort of a clearance, saying that when we export to any particular country, there has to be somebody telling us, saying that what are the rules and regulations you would need to take care while exporting to this particular country. When we say exports, it's not just one particular export, you do it all across the world. You need to respect the aspect that every country would have.
We lost you, Arvindji.
The entire fraternity, not only in India and also abroad, is the fact that Ayurveda is just not equal to heavy metals. In some products, heavy metals are ingredients. In some products, heavy metals are contaminants. And this is something that what we need to really educate, that Ayurveda is not equal to contamination or not equal to heavy metals. This particular education has to go across very strongly out to the international community. Because if you just see anybody who talks about Ayurveda in the international community, their first and main concern is, okay, does it have heavy metals? So I feel we need to go actually on an educational overdrive to see that how we could educate people on this, number one. Number two is that, sorry, Ranjitji.
Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I just wanted to make one last point that the aspect of regulatory compliances, we as industry need to take it upon ourselves to see what are the regulatory framework that is already prevalent in that particular country while we're exporting right now. There are two things. One is that there is no separate chapter that recognizes Ayurveda or Ayush products in almost all countries. In case, if I may say right now, there's really nobody who recognizes for what you are. You're either a dietary supplement or a food supplement. So there's really no chapter that recognizes you. And I feel that that's our responsibility as industry to impress upon our government to see that we engage, such chapters across in various countries to see that we get recognition. Because if our doctors are not recognized there to practice, if our products are not recognized in any particular chapter so as to be given across, and later it really does not make any difference, saying that you'll only be another product per se. And number three is, I feel that this Ayush mark that we have, standard as well as, for the export mark, I feel we really need to champion this, both from ministry and as well as industry. Nobody really knows about this mark that much. So as industry, we would need to impress upon the government to see that you get it recognized across in different countries. See, as certain set industries, we already have this mark, but is it recognized across the world? Why do we take this mark? That purpose has to be established. So these were just my 3 points. Thank you, Ranjit.
I will move the topic a little bit into GMPs. And, we have seen from India, which probably hosts the largest amount of pharma US FDA approved manufacturing sites over the period of the last 4 to 5 years, we have seen a greater amount of stress on inspecting manufacturing sites in India for their compliance with the Dietary Supplement Herbal Education Act. I think it's 21 CFR. So this kind of inspection has happened. Sanjay ji, I'm sure your manufacturing site has also been inspected. Karthike, you also probably have been inspected under this entire notification or this guideline. Anything to share with regards to your experiences? Because it's all boiling down to talking about the source and having a pre-shipment kind of, maybe even if I understood correctly, move it to country-wise kind of profiles, which will make up a code for pre-shipment checking. If I summarize Arvindji correctly, he's also talked about the Ayush mark having a country-wise kind of application. So, I mean, these are all progressive things, homework that in India we should do. But Karthike, with regards to US FDA inspections, any idea how many inspections have taken place in the DSHEA kind of space in India? Please.
Ranjitji. So I think over the years, it was only the dietary supplement manufacturers who came under the purview of US FDA. But 4 years ago, even the dietary ingredient manufacturers like us were got under the purview. As you rightly mentioned, the source itself, wherein US FDA could just visit you anytime and then, just audit the facility. Fortunately or unfortunately, we haven't been audited yet, but I do know of other ingredient manufacturers in India who export herbal extracts. They have been audited. A couple of them have been issued even 483 as well. Now, of course, it's not as stringent as what you see with APIs and formulations. But yes, over the years, things have gotten very stringent. And I'm especially talking from US market perspective, because that's the main market that we cater to, North America or European market. And, not all GMP standards and certifications are created equal. Some have loose standards, some are more rigorous, and it is tempting for any manufacturers to view meeting these GMP standards as cumbersome. But in the long run, it is good for the industry and for consumers if we adhere to more stringent GMP standards like US FDA or TGA or UK's MHRA. And that's where I think third-party certifications play a bigger role, be it dietary supplement manufacturers or be it dietary ingredient makers like us. So when I talk about third-party certifications, I talk about USP. Now, United States Pharmacopoeia has a GMP certification. There is NSF, there is UL. These are more commonly known names, but these are the names that even US FDA trusts. And not just the regulatory body, but even the manufacturers, the customers. Let's say for us, the customers are the finished product makers or the brand makers. And there's also something called as FSMA, FSVP, which got introduced a couple of years ago. That's Food Safety Modernization Act, and under which there's something called as Foreign Supplier Verification Program. I mean, many of us out there are aware of this. So it's very important that, and these third-party certifications play a very important role in compliance with FSMA and FSVP. So I personally think that, yes, I mean, Ayush Mark and these kind of certifications are good, maybe when you're talking about just country, but when you're thinking of exports, going forward, these are only going to get more and more stringent. And if we are looking at catering to regulated markets like US, Europe, and Australia, it's time that the industry starts investing into these certifications, bring robust quality assurance and quality control teams on board, and have state-of-the-art manufacturing units. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to sustain going forward.
Absolutely. I'll get it, Sanjay Srivastavji of Maharishi Ayurveda, New Delhi, who has been probably one of the first WHO Ayurveda units and a very large exporter to the entire Maharishi Foundation. Sanjay ji, could we have your views on? Yes.
Yeah, Ranjit, thanks for calling me in. Taking two things forward. One is when, as far as we are concerned, Maharishi, we have been exporting as the products as food supplement for the last 35 years. So we are not falling in that dietary supplement, and so far, because of that, there's been no inspection, US FDA inspection, and we have been testing and getting the products tested as per US standards as far as food supplements are concerned. But I would like to bring right now one very important point connected with the European regulations. In fact, I did mention this to Praveenji some maybe one and a half months back. Ranjit, we have been exporting our products, food supplement. We've got two categories. One is the organic category and one is the conventional category. So about in 4 months back, the European law, and I think everybody in the panel and also the participants would be aware of that work somewhere in the month of August, all organic exports to Europe were stopped because of a new testing that was introduced, not actually new testing, but a testing that they enforced from August, which was the ETO, ethylene and
trioxide.
Ethylene trioxide, yeah. And because of that, immediately all organic exports stopped, and there are a lot of containers that I heard came back from European ports. Something like 250 containers came back, and all organic companies like we had to stop our export because we had to get all the products tested. There was no time given for anybody to transition time to start doing your testing. Now that, of course, was the organic part, and what we found wanting was none of the government agencies. I talked to a lot of agencies, including APIDA and certifying bodies. I even touched upon FICCI as well as Ministry of Commerce, but none of them had any idea what to do. They said, okay, that's the regulation, you have to follow it, and it was yet there in force. And for few years, for the past 5-10 years, we have been shielding the industry from that regulation. But now Europe has made that regulation very, very stringent, and you have to meet those standards. Now, because of that, I think a lot of organic industry has closed shop, and they are in deep trouble. Who are not only exporting organic raw material, but also organic products, whether it is nutraceuticals or herbal products. Now, and what happened was on 15th of December 2021, European Commission enacted another law where they categorized many products from many countries, right from Argentina to Turkey, including India, that any food supplements coming to Europe, any country in Europe, now has to be tested for about 500 plus pesticides, including ATO, plus a few special pesticides which they have mentioned. There's a regulation which I have a copy with, and I do believe everyone else would be, especially Arvind Varchasvi, since he's into big time exports into Europe. This new testing has again stopper to most of our exports. And basically, while we were looking at all these things, and the more important thing was that no transition period given. They said you have to just start testing it now. So all my European exporters are in trouble, whether it is Germany or Holland, Norway, UK, Switzerland, Austria. So they said now whatever product comes from India, it has to be tested. This thing. And what they categorize, they categorize food supplement as one subject, one particular category, that food supplements has to be tested for pesticides, including ETO. Now the major thing, whether it is organic product or conventional product, we all know that in India there are a lot of pesticides which have been banned internationally but are being used in India, especially ETO, to kill the bacteria and those loads. So for us, now it becomes very difficult to go to the source of those raw materials or go to the source of those farmers or dealers who are using these kind of pesticides, especially ETO, to fumigate the product and then make it available to the industry. Though we have started this and we are working on it, but it's a humongous task. It's a huge thing, and I was basically wanting to,
there's a question that I was actually going to ask you to end with, to say, as to how should Indian industry gear up?
That's three things that I can.
Because I'm just looking at my notes. Harpinder ji has talked about accreditation of laboratories, that is getting a common code of our own kind of GLP lined out. Or maybe it's an adaptation, but that's something that's required. Then we spoke about giving Ayush mark a new meaning, to talk about geography-wise kind of pre-shipment, kind of a code of conduct and let's say checklist. And we have Karthikeya ji, who's also talked about foreign supply verification program. So bringing that as part of the entire pre-shipment kind of protocol. How does Indian industry deal with all of this? Because traditionally we love suitcase exports. We love to kind of give it in any label that you want. Sorry if I'm a little crude about what I said. But Arvind ji or Sanjay ji, any kind of reflection on this? Do we have Virendra Sodhi? Because
I'll just mention two important things here, Ranjit. One is when we're looking at these kind of things. One is we have to have a very good. The industry has to have a very good interaction with academia, because there are a lot of things that the academia can do research for us to especially when I look at ETO. I wouldn't know where the 7,000 herbs are grown and which is the farmer, which is the state that is using ETO to sterilize their products. So one is academia. The second is the laboratory. There has to be a unification of laboratories here. If you look at it, if you look at these two bodies like APIDA and the exporting body. So APIDA has got a limited number of laboratories through which you can get your products tested. But those laboratories, they don't have, they have the facilities, but they are not recognized all over India. So you then get, there are only 2 or 3 or 4 really big laboratories like Eurofins and those Eurofin or SGS or those kind of international laboratory, and you get stuck with them doing things. So I think another thing that we need to have very strong laboratory interactions, inter-laboratory comparisons. Because what I noticed is you get the same product tested in 2 laboratories. The one laboratory will fail it on ETO, the other will pass it on ETO. So you don't know what could go wrong. And third is that we, as like now that the Ayurvedic Export Promotion Council is formed, I think we as an industry body should meet more frequently, more regularly, sort out our issues like this, and then take it to the relevant government, whether it is Ministry of Environment or Ministry of Commerce or it's Ministry of Agriculture or Ministry of Food. Everybody has to come on board to understand the issues faced by the exporting industry. Okay. So this is my point. Yeah.
Arvindji, anything to add?
Yes. So Ranjit, just a quick thing. Yes. I do agree with Sanjay that we would need to have more conformity in terms of what sort of tests, and also which are the labs that would be there. So I think that this could also be something that what the Ayush Export Promotion Council could also provide, saying that we do have relevant labs that test these particular products for specific countries as well. But on another side, what I really feel is that as industry, when I say industry, I mean both from product and services side, we definitely need to see that we need to put more effort to understanding where do we stand in those countries. Say, for example, like what Sanjay ji mentioned across over here now, they've been exporting to Europe for X number of years. So there would be some industries like this that do have the what should I say, the early bird sort of thing, because the THMPT law does not apply to some industries. But look at the other industries that where it does apply to. The moment it starts applying to that, it becomes very, very difficult for industry to really come across over there. And that's where, even Praveenji, who's over here, he's been a great spokesman to see that how Ayurveda and the entire Ayush systems can be included in FTAs. Because, this really needs to happen, and only once both, whether exporting country or importing country, recognize the fact that there is something to this science, things will not move. And one last thing I want to mention in this particular point is that the Ayush systems are India's wealth. Now, if we don't set standards for this as to how it has to be regulated, how do we expect any other country to do that? So I feel the onus is on us, saying that these are standards, whether it is industry operating in India or abroad, you have to follow this. This brings in total clarity to people, saying that what exactly we need to do. And this is very, very important. We need to have, clear set standards that what we as industry will follow in India and also abroad. And we need to see that through the Ayush Export Promotion Council, these laws or these recommendations are also implemented in other countries through trade. So these were just my inputs. Thank you.
Any quick comment, Harpinderji, before I move to the next question, or even Karthikeya, just as a wrap up? Any quick comment before I get the others in?
I think I'll agree with what Arvindji just said, that it's important for us to have a standard coming out from Ayush, because as with Ayurvedic Pharmacopoeia, which was published a few years back, it has become kind of a global standard for all the raw herbs here in USA as well. I'm talking from US perspective. The labs look up at US Ayurvedic Pharmacopoeia to figure out what standard, how to create a monograph if there's none, or if there is a monograph. So in the same way, if we can have regulatory standards created by Ayush for all the finished products and other things, that will be great help. I think Arvindji has summarized it very well.
Karthikeya, before I take your bite on this, my personal view on something like this is not to really look forward to a Gazette notification to make its entire way, but as like-minded people who are very much, as it seems, on the same page, to really outline the entire code and put it as a guideline, as an advisory first for our own peers. And unless we get that particular thing into practice, it's just going to be another 10 years of hoping for a new day to come, and then it somehow, Harpinderji, doesn't really happen that fast, and our life's running out of time. So yes, Karthikeya.
Yeah, Ranjitji, I would say two things, as what Arvindji and even you mentioned. The onus lies on all of us as well. But besides that, also, I would say the government of India, Ministry of Ayush, need to up its ante. I think there's a Schedule M or Schedule T. I don't know. There's one Ayurvedic GMP that we follow over here. That does not bring us anywhere if we think of exporting. So it's high time that even from a regulatory perspective, Ministry of Ayush make stringent regulations in terms of GMPs. It will be difficult initially. Not everybody would be open to it. But with time, I think industry will get used to it. And that's how we'll up our standards and will make things easier for exports.
Okay, so I have now, I have Dr. Guman, I have Dr. Kaushik and Dr. Parla, who I can see are, have palpable points that they want to share with us. And if my timing is correct, we have 10 minutes. And I would like the last word to come in from Praveenji. So whoever, Dr. Kaushik or Dr. Parla, Dr. Kuman, whoever would like to go, please reflect on this. I'll just leave you with one thought. If you can add about a groundbreaking research paper that took us from food and dietary supplements closer to becoming a traditional medicine kind of system that allowed, that kind of ideal allows you to have a claim statement. That's something important. Please, Dr. Parla, if you may, or Dr. Kaushik, whoever would like to start.
I would like to say, there's sometimes we don't have to reinvent the whole wheel. There could be something we can learn from the Chinese medicine. Chinese people have done a pretty good job of standardization. Of course, we do see complaints from the Chinese medicines too about contaminations and all that, but the government of China has done a pretty good job of setting some standards. I think there's something to learn for us from the way they have done for acupuncture, the way they have done for Chinese medicine, and they have a huge share of market in this country. So there could be something for us to learn from there. And also, I think that it's a great, this is a good thing that we have this platform together. And maybe it would be a great thing to do is to take it from here and come up with our own board or of stakeholders who can kind of help in monitoring or see if anything comes up and issue a cease or desist kind of a letter to any platform who is encouraging such kind of products which are being brought into this country. So I think these are the few things which I feel can take us further.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Amit.
Dr. Parla.
Yes. Yeah, the point well taken. The Chinese medicine, being I and Dr. Amit, both of us have graduated from Chinese medicine schools here in the US. I want to bring this attention to all of our, listeners here, our stakeholders here. There was a study that was done in 2019 by Esther Monzano, studying the industry of plant medicine. Who are the biggest stakeholders? Of course, there are two countries. One is China, and second one is India. Until 2016, India was on the top of plant research. In the last 4 years, China has overtaken this, and it's very interesting to see that China has taken an experimental approach, whereas India continues to do the extract approach. That means we are standardizing the extracts and developing towards industry, whereas China has taken an evidence-based experimental approach, which is very fundamental, has to change from the government or the state point of view. So that tells us that what China is taking is something towards a solid steps to make sure that the Chinese medicine is considered as a standard medicine and there is nothing to point out. It also brings us to the point that there is a stigma. And I just want to tell you we refer to this Sapers, the JAMA article. It is the most cited article in the US research for America, but 569 citations just for that specific paper shows that how much of a stigma is being created here in the, not just in the US, but also in other places. So we have to think about, there is a lot to, stake here, as we need to look at the governing body that everybody has agreed, like Arvindji said and Harpinderji said, that we need Indian government to take that standard forward. It's not in the hands of small industries like us. It is to be, governed by the Indian government. These are the, couple of points.
Dr. Kaushik. So you're on mute.
Namaste, and then thanks.
Namaste.
Everyone had really good points. Again, is a great platform for us to not reinvent, but also reinforce that where we have been and where we are and where we're heading to. So Chinese study, I use a lot of Chinese medicine as a naturopathic doctor also, along with Ayurveda, but I've seen great difference in their quality in the last about 35 years. So they were like us also. There were a lot of complaints, and then slowly, the government of China took the initiative. So here we are now, don't want to repeat the same thing. The base had to start with our education system. We are not going to continue talking about the same traditional Ayurvedic medicines because Charak says so great. They were sages, they gave us the foundation. Now we have to make it global. And for that, we have to meet the new standards. Maybe there were not that many contaminants when Charak and Shushruta were here, and maybe there were not that many pesticides used. There were no chemicals used. Now every household is full of tons of chemicals, even for cleaning, even for washing, for everything. So the soil is contaminated, and does the herbs also. That's number one thing. So with that, education system had to be changed, where we are not only teaching biochemistry to our students, we also teach them public health. We also teach them research methodologies. So basically more research are needed. And also when we are looking at the standards, we need to create standards of manufacturing like a pharmaceutical company. We want to make sure the hygiene, the efficacy, the clarity, the cleanliness, everything is according to that, even though we are using herbs. Herbs also need the same standard. Everything had to be purified. Other thing is, I see there's so many supplements being sold in food store. So if we are calling them supplement or Ayurvedic medicine, then when they're sold, they're coming from many of the manufacturer, because this person who is having or selling food, they're looking for the cheapest stuff available. There's no guidelines, there's no testing, there's nothing. I get a lot of calls from India. They don't know our manufacturer. We look at the background. Many of that had no background in Ayurveda or any medical sciences. People are just putting things together and start selling them. And I found few people I know personally, they were really large sellers at Amazon until the Amazon created these guidelines. So we as the individuals or we as the community had to really think, are we doing it for profit or are we doing it for the people's health? If it's the profit based, then of course there won't be any new changes. But if you're looking for efficacy and looking for the help and the health of individuals, then we as the community need to change. Reason being, we are looking at the guidelines, we're looking at the rules and regulation, we're looking at the stringency, we're looking at all the rules for different countries. But why not make a rule for the humanity? If something is bad and harmful for a person using in the US, the same thing is harmful for somebody using in India. There's no rule regulation. You can sell anything you want. So if all these things are coming from India, we import all these herbs. Again, same thing in 2008, we started manufacturing everything here because FDA was hanging on our neck all the time, looking at something which they can ban. And we says, well, let's bring those, extract those here, purify, get tested in India, get tested here for all these heavy metals, especially lead, mercury, arsenic, and cadmium. And also making sure there's no mold growing in those. Well, of course, that was expensive. And also you have to get the finished product tested again. But again, then we are off the hook and making sure that whatever we are giving to our consumers, to our patients actually is pure. And we can say that with confidence. But same rules should apply in India also. So government of India and Ayush had to make strict rules that anybody who is not meeting those standards need to close their doors, and they're not allowed to come in this business again, because you're playing with people's life. And I have seen many individuals who import directly from the open market in India. And of course, they got caught and then create problem for us also. There are a lot of doctors now in India, Ayurvedic practitioner who can offer a Zoom call. And many Indians will try to contact them because, of course, in rupees is much cheaper. And the doctor will make a big package and send by mail. And that package is their own product, which they created their name. And since they are not in the US, there's no rules and regulation. But when the child or adult gets sick and get reported, it goes against Ayurvedic medicine. So Ayurveda, which is, like Arvind said, is our dharohar, is everything for us. It is given to us from our ancestors. The name Ayurveda is spoiled, even though it is not Ayurveda's fault, it's the individual. So with that, the education system and the government had to take this. Yes.
So suitcase exports gets a new dimension, including a valid prescription from India and a Zoom call. This is indeed innovation. Now I'm sorry, Dr. Kaushik, but I must get Pravinji inside. Pravinji, you have the last word, but I can't help but to say that I think all of us are on the same page. We want to hasten the pharmaceuticalization of Ayurveda, and we want this to come fast in a complete kind of profile that really stands scrutiny on basis of not only identity but hygiene, and that's something very important. But I'll leave this question for the next roundtable, which is on research. But to do all of that, my reward should not be restricted to only selling food or dietary supplements. My reward should be my claim statement. Please don't react to this. We'll allow the next table to talk about it. Pravinji, one of the first clearly defined agendas for Ayush Export Promotion Council, even before, let's say, it kind of blooms for the first time. Please, sir.
Thank you so much, Arvind, Ranjit, sir. I must say that if I would not have attended this session, I would have missed out on a lot of inputs which have come in from, people across. Let me tell you, Ayush Export Promotion Council, of course, has finally got registered. And amongst us, Sanjay Srivastav is the first board of director on that. So that's something to be, very proud of. I have written all the notes which everybody has spoken about. And while being here in Dubai, I had a chance to meet today with the Netherlands group of, Arab Health is also happening here in Dubai. And there was a delegation from Arab Health of the only Netherlands companies. They had a lot of interest in Ayush Ayurveda, and in fact were lot curious to know how they can work with our Indian companies and how can we associate them with our Indian companies and so forth. So I think clear takeaways from my side on this is that, of course, we'll start working on this is that, first of all, a very clear, one of the speakers said that regulatory standards to be created by Ayush for finished products, harmonization of regulatory practices, informing the European, FDA about the, so there has to be a starting point. And I think what needs to be done on a quick basis is putting together what are the various regulations which are required by various other countries in order to allow the Ayush products as medicinal products, familiarizing the European or the other country FDA authorities about the system. So there's a lot of work, and in fact, that makes me, really put myself on the edge that there's a lot of work to be done, a lot of work to be done. So I think from Ayush Export Promotion Council perspective, since even Arvindji is a board member, you're a board member, and a lot of others are board members there, a very clearly robust strategy will have to be defined maybe in the month of February itself, with a very clear-cut defined A, goals, B, timelines, so that the work starts on that momentum, because we may keep meeting and speaking, but I think at the ground level, the work needs to start there. And that's the sole objective of Ayush Export Promotion Council, to, help our exporters, because it's a sorry state of affairs if sudden random testing requirements comes in from, European countries. And yes, of course, what Karthikeya also said, that stringent regulate, certification and processes need to be put in place, so that at least the world, when they get the products, they know that there is a quality which is coming from India. You just cannot be exporting anything and everything. And I think that's very, very critical and important. And even I'm sure, a lot of exports has already been happening, but, using the same codes, it's important to create that awareness. And I think that's all what we are ready for. I would love to be guided by each one of you. We're putting up a team together. It's important that we get now to the ground basic and start working. And that's what my key takeaway from this today's call is, because after hearing this, I can't be sitting on what we've been achieved so far, or what has been done so far. But important is, if this organization has been made, I think it needs to get functional. And the new year calls for a quick start on this. So that's what I would say this point in time.
Thank you, Praviji. I am 5 minutes over time. Sorry, Dr. Shah and the other organizers. And thank you to all the panelists. We started running. So I think that's the most interesting thing. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Please stay for just 1 minute. Thank you, Ranjit ji, for a very stimulating conversation. I want to quickly ask every panelist, would you please commit and share in just 30 seconds if you think this kind of a platform is helpful? And can we have our quarterly meetings, a commitment from all of you for our quarterly meetings? Because I know, can everybody please, Kartikeya, can I count on you too? Thank you. Thank you so much. I think the goal was to bring the people from outside India who are operating, but who are from India, who can kind of throw better light on these issues. To bring them on the conversation panel. I just want to add a couple comments, then I'm going to request Amarjeet Bhamraji, are you still here? Because he needs to leave, he's here. So he has, will take his commentary quickly before he leaves. But I do want to just comment a little bit from whatever standpoint I come from, that we must all remember that Indians are Jugadu. So that Jugadu DNA will not go away. So we have to, that's a reality, and I have to mention it, that whatever platforms are going to be available, Indians will take advantage of it, whether it's the consumer or the practitioner here. I know we are all talking the ideal language here, but I have to bring the naked truth to the front that that is not going to stop. We must be very, very honest about understanding that. The only things we can do is create guideline documents, which can continue to be more and more clear and stringent, because we all know implementation is always the challenge. We can create gazettes and laws and everything. Implementation is where we all fail. And that's the key thing to remember. So I think those are the two things I wanted to say. And the only last point I would like to share is that there is a big lag in our own initiative on this matter. Sorry about this. Sorry, there's a lock. So I feel that we are keeping it open for others to take to be in the driver's seat by us not putting ourselves in the driver's seat. So I think we are not ahead, we are behind, and we are on the slide trying to cope up with what is developing rather than anticipating it and expecting it and having a handle on it, advanced handle on it. That's sort of the perspective as a consumer, as a practitioner. I'm not in the regulatory bodies, I'm not in the industry, but that is the feeling, and that could be pretty raw, it could be incorrect, but I just wanted to communicate it as a consumer and as a practitioner. Thank you so much. So Amarjeet, I'm going to invite Amarjeet ji briefly to give his commentary in a few minutes so that we're running late for the next session. So this would have come in the open forum, but he needs to leave. So Amarjeet ji.
Thank you. Namaste, everybody. Am I audible?
Yes.
Good, thank you. So really fascinating seminar. Thank you so much. Wonderfully organized, Ranjit ji. Fascinating panel of speakers. Really, really wonderful. And can I thank the organization for inviting me over to this program. I'm based here in Windsor. It's a very small town just on the west of London in the UK. And about 8-9 years ago, we had some issues, coming over from the European Union. They actually brought out a directive which was meant to ban all herbal medications into the European Union. And so I took the fight to the British Parliament. I had few political connections. And then we very quickly set up a Save Herbal Medicine campaign. And within a month and a half, we generated about 1.5 million signatures, which were given to the British government then. And so the outcome of that and the pressure that we'd installed, I mean, the first thing was that really to bring the whole herbal sector together, which in itself was a humongous challenge. Not only were there like 3.5 Ayurveda associations here and so many traditional Chinese herbal and Tibetan and Western herbal and so on and so forth, but with the grace of Lord Shiva, I managed, without sort of, going into my ecosystems, to bring the whole sector together, and then, to really create one platform, we managed to secure the British government's position, so that because although the EU are very good at manufacturing laws and regulations, but they leave the policing of this to individual nations. And at that time, there were 28 nations. And as you now know, that unfortunately, Britain is not part of that membership club anymore. So we achieved a major breakthrough, and the position with Ayurveda, since then, since we achieved that breakthrough, is that Ayurvedic physicians can import from India various herbs, in either fresh or dry form into the United Kingdom, providing they're able to actually, make it into prescription. So that's where we are. And unfortunately, all the big boys, who were sitting here at that time, the likes of Himalaya and Dabur and etc., they curtailed their businesses, and they're sitting on the periphery of Europe now, places like Dubai and stuff like that, where they're operating from. So now, the situation is that, we thought that, if this is what, the vested interests, and I think you all know who I mean, if they can do this, with the revolving door policy in the European Union, if we want to go to Europe and we want to talk about promotion or development of Ayurveda, we don't get an appointment. So these people have a revolving door policy. They come in and they go out. And if they are able to do this, with Ayurveda, and they might do, this with other sister sciences of Ayurveda, which is like yoga and Jyotish and etc. And then we very comfortably, we designed to put a very powerful group of MPs together. I put the website on this chat thing here on your screen.
Amarjit, if you could wind up your thoughts. Thank you so much. You're running very late.
And the thing is that what we've done is that, and this is something that I really want to encourage all of you, wherever you're in whatever part of the world, is actually to create a parliamentary group. And so we have cross-party parliamentarians here in the UK from all major parties, from the both houses of Lords and House of Commons, who are actually helping us to understand, who are trying to understand what we are all about, and actually then filtering that into the policy-making machinery. And with that, what we had is that, globally speaking, 2018, the Prime Minister of India was here, and we helped to organize a meeting with His Royal Highness Prince Charles. And we are now on the foundation of actually setting up a center for Indian medicine, here in London. And we are also at the moment, through that initiative, through this all-party parliamentary group on Indian traditional sciences, are now involved in a major study, which is led here in the UK by the London School of Hygiene Tropical Medicine, who are associated with the government of India to look at how Ayurveda can help people suffering from long COVID. And this is the first study of its kind, which is being conducted, by the British here outside India. So I mean, I'm sorry, we don't have much time to go into all this, but these are the things that I think, if we can do it in England, I'm sure that you can do this, wherever you are. So again, my fondest, greetings and heartfelt acknowledgement, to really bringing this platform together, and whatever we can do from United Kingdom, and also not only the UK, but also we have actually implemented the same strategy in the EU Parliament. So we're working very close with the 27 nations, and if there's any way we can assist and help all of us, then I'm always at your disposal. Thank you so much for giving me this.
Thank you so much. Thank you for coming. We'll also take Dr. Vivek's thoughts very quickly because even he has to leave. So Dr. Vivek, please, in brief. Thank you.
Thank you, Pratibha, for organizing such a wonderful forum with very important presentations here. And I really enjoyed the way how Ranjit brought together many different facets. And we have been talking earlier about different sides of a coin, but now we should talk about different facets of this multi-faceted diamond. And I think there are few facets that are still need to be included. So I'll just mention what needs to be included in this discussion. Otherwise, it'll keep going in circle. We need to first bring the total jugadu, like you said, Pratibha, the consumer, the patient, because they are driving all of this. They have been really enjoying the benefits of Ayurveda. They have been understanding the value of what Ayurveda and Ayurvedic supplements plays in their day-to-day health. We need to first understand their perspective. Second is the prescriber or the practitioner who is actually prescribing or recommending or advocating these products. The third is, where did the practitioner get that information from? Is from the academia, where they graduated from, and the research institutes which they get their knowledge and wisdom from. The fourth is the growers, who need to be really looking at how can they eliminate the heavy elements getting into their produce. Then the fifth is the manufacturer, importer, distributor, who is actually selling these products or making them available everywhere. The fifth is the laboratories, who are using certain techniques, who are not using certain techniques, who are not using some of the research that is available, explaining the benefits of even Rasaushadhis. The sixth is the regulating government, whether it is Ayush in India or whether it is FDA in US. Now I have been in US for more than 34 years now. From that perspective, I would say is that the highest population that uses Ayurvedic medicine in US is Indian population, whether it is the first generation or second generation. And like Ranjit mentioned, there is this suitcase importing that is happening all over, which is the same thing, Jugadu, that you mentioned, Pratibha, that we will not be able to stop unless we think from the consumer perspective. For all of us here, our employer, our salary payer is the consumer. If we don't understand them, if we don't include their aspect in this discussion, we will not. And I want to just quickly say that the consumer does not see products as medicine. A big portion of the products, consumer sees them as their food. Chawanprash has been their food, ashwagandha has been their food, licorice has been their food. So they look at a good portion of the supplements as their food, and they say, hey, if I can go to a grocery shop in India and buy my Chawanprash, I'm going to buy it, and I'm going to treat it the same way when I go to US. I'm going to take it in my suitcase. And if I have found it useful, if I have found Sooth Shaker useful, I'm going to continue taking it to US and I'm going to use it, okay? Because they find it useful, it has been helping their heartburn. They will not take omeprazole, they will continue to take Sooth Shaker, okay? That we have to that we have to understood. And if we don't understand that, whatever you try to stop them using sooth shaker, they will never stop. It's helping them. They will never stop. They will never stop that. Then, so first thing, understand the consumer and create the whole process to serve the consumer. Otherwise, the Jugado consumer will never stop the sooth shaker, and the manufacturing industry will never stop supplying them sooth shaker because there is demand. They are paying. They are ready to pay. Second thing is that I like what Arvind said is educate. We should not buy this whole Western propaganda that Ayurvedic heavy metals are bad. Our own research institutes in India are telling us there are Rasa Shastra departments that are publishing research thesis after thesis saying that Rasa Shastra is useful. It treats and heals the chronic diseases. Why are we the leaders in Ayurveda?
Vivek, sorry, but these are going to be covered in the next two panels.
So I'll
Actually,
just finish in
it's
less
already
than 1
like
minute. I'll less than finish in less than 1 minute. So 5 things we need to focus on is understand the consumer, educate the whole system, study and copy the success of Chinese medicine. Fourth is do not depend on government to take the lead. We all should take the lead, which we are already taking. And finally, Ayurveda has become global because of internet and because of jet travel. So we need to discard these global boundaries and look at it as a whole global issue. Thank you.
Thank you, Vivek. And I wish you could stay because next two panels will be covering a lot of what you've already said.
I'll try.
But thank you. Thank you. Again, I'm trying to be on the, fly with people's requests for, they have to leave. So Dr. Katiyarji, with your permission, I will have to just ask Dr. Deepika her question and then we can start your panel. Is that okay? She has to leave. Just her question.
Sure.
Thank you. All right. So Dr. Deepika, sorry, we have to now take you. I know you have requested that you need to leave. So I'm going to quickly, with everyone's permission, I'm going to ask Dr. Deepika is supposed to be on my panel, which was last, but I'll ask her question now. So Dr. Deepika, please share some top level observations regarding challenges, insights gained as a practitioner who has worked in product companies and has initiated or been involved with projects abroad. Please go ahead.
Thank you,
5 minutes
Dr.
or less, if
sure,
possible.
Sure.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Yeah, I'll try and do it within my stipulated time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Pratibha. Thank you, Dr. Katiyar, and thank you, Ranjit ji. It's a pleasure to join this esteemed group. And thank you, Dr. Katiyar, for sending me a message and asking me to join in the group. Well, Pratibha ji, it's a long history, and I will not go into all those details as to what I did here when I was in UK and Europe. And Dr. Katiyar has been also a part of all that efforts that we had made during those years. That was way back in 94, 95. So I'll not go into those details as to what we did and how we, went to the Department of Health, the UK government, and then we worked on the THMPD, and we also worked with WHO. So a whole lot of effort was made, and I'm happy that the same efforts are being made now. But what I'll say is, while I was practicing here and coming quickly to the points that you want me to make, the best thing is to follow the law of the land. And being a practitioner, I wanted to continue with my Ayurvedic practice. So we set up a hospital in central London. It was a charitable hospital where we used to do panchkarma, and we used medications that were purely herbal, because herbal medications are permitted in this country. So therefore, following the law of the land is very important till we get the regulations uniform. And we all know there are no uniform regulations right now. So we'll have to stay with it for some time till we get our product sorted. So that was one way. I had my professional indemnity taken with Bupa, so that in case there is an issue, I am covered. That's how it works. So these are certain things that we need to follow. Then I also got into the educational part, where we started the first university degree course on Ayurveda through Thames Valley University. I got all the syllabus translated into English, and I think we spent about 4 to 5 years having graduates coming out and then going to India for their internship and other things. So, and then coming to the products. Products again, I worked on the products which were very within the regulatory parameters and which complied with all the regulations. So if you are looking at, entering these international markets, I think the first thing for all of us to look at is compliance, whether it is products, whether it's education, or whether it is professional services that we provide. We need to comply on all those aspects. That's very important. So, keeping all this in mind, when I relocated to India in 2007, in 2011, we started the Ayurvedic premium and standard certification with QCI, keeping in mind that even if we have to practice or we have to go into research, real research, we need good quality products. As somebody rightly pointed out, that there are two types of contaminations. One is the contamination of heavy metals in herbal products, and the other is use of heavy metals. So we leave aside the heavy metals for the time being, work on the herbal products. And keeping this in mind, I worked with QCI and we started the premium certification and standard certification. And believe you me, out of the 9,000 units, we only have about less than 100 units complying on that. Because people have to come out and understand that we need to first meet those standards. I'm not talking about international standards. I'm talking about meeting standards where the contamination is nil. We give the best quality product to our consumers in India, and that would help us to also export our products. Now, that has not happened. And therefore, it is a warning for all of us in India that we should set our house in order as quickly as possible. And once we are compliant and we are happy, I think the world is open to us. And that's what we should do. Thank you, Pratibha.
Thank you so much, Dr. Deepika, and pleasure to have you. It's nice to have some women representation. It's always very empowering. So I like to see HK here. I like to see you here and all of our women colleagues. And thank you for the insightful comments. I think the takeaway is let's put our own house in order first. Before we go out and figure out how are the international waters and how to navigate them. I think putting our house in order, and as you rightly said, guidelines can be made, but we've been saying this implementation is always where we fail. So those are the two areas. Thank you so much, and please stay as long as you can.
I will. I'm here for another half an hour, of course.
Thank you. Thank you so much. All right, Dr. Jyoti, can you please introduce Dr. Katiyarji? Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Our next speaker, our next doctor to conduct the panel, Dr. Chandrakant Katiyar. He's a Chief Executive Officer at Imami Limited, based at Kolkata. He has a vast experience in research and development of Ayurvedic drugs. He has been holding important positions at Dabur India, as well as Ranbaxy Research Lab. He has many years of experience in clinical trials on Ayurvedic drug as well as synthetic molecules, pharmacological and toxicological studies on herbal drugs and development of quality standards. He also has experience in pharmacopoeial monographs of herbal raw materials for Indian pharmacopoeia as well as the US pharmacopoeia. He is the member of the governing body of All India Institute of Ayurveda, Delhi, member of Scientific Advisory Board, Central Council for Research in Ayurveda Sciences, Scientific Advisory Group, Indian Council of Medical Research, initiated development of phytopharmaceutical, a new class of drug in India, and is currently the Vice Chairman of National Phytopharmaceutical Mission of Department of Biotechnology, Ministry of Science and Technology, Government of India. Thank you, sir, and please proceed.
Thank you. Thank you for nice introduction. Dr. Pratibha, I am very thankful to you and the board for giving me an opportunity to host this session on the research. So I'm very, without wasting time, we have a panel of elite experts, 6, and I request them to please send their videos. So it is Professor Ikhlas Khan. Professor Ikhlas Khan is the director of the National Center for Natural Product Research at University of Mississippi, and he's also a member of FDA committees, and his major work these days is identification of adulterants, and he is deeply involved in traditional Chinese medicine research also. Then we have Dr. Rangesh Parmesh. Dr. Rangesh Parmesh is from Himalaya, Himalaya Global Limited, and he is currently based at Dubai. He has extremely, I think, very long experience on research on Ayurvedic drugs. Then we have Professor S.C. Lakhotia, who is basically is a geneticist and a professor of zoology at Banaras Hindu University. He is senior member of INSA, and he is the one who has introduced he had done a lot of good research on Ayurvedic products on Drosophila models in India and made good publication in international journals. We have Dr. Amit Agarwal, who is director at Natural Remedy at Bengaluru, and he is one of the extract manufacturers, and he himself is being PhD in pharmacology from UK. He also has done a lot of good research, especially on Brahmi. And then we have Mr. Kartikeya Baldwa, whom we have already heard. So it's a short panel, and we hope to complete the task, Dr. Pratibha, within 30 minutes time, which has been given to us. So I became a student of Ayurveda in 1973, just exactly 49 years ago. And since then I have been listening that Ayurveda needs research, Ayurveda needs research. Even today I'm listening same thing, Ayurveda needs research. But we are forgetting that in the meantime, in the 50 years, or even before me, a lot of research has already been done on Ayurveda. Now, what we need to do is, can we look at what has been done and how can we use that? We continue for the research perfectly, no problem. But what research has been done, how can we use that research to promote our products, basis science? And also we should not forget that before 1964 or 1960, I will say, graduation courses in Ayurveda were in local languages, in Hindi. And the only journals used to be Sachitra Ayurveda and Ayurveda Vikas, which are Hindi language, right? There was no English language journal at that time which are publishing Ayurveda research. We should keep that also in mind. Also remember that the Nobel Prize for Artemisia, the paper which are published in local Chinese language journal, it was not published in Nature. So therefore, my question to Professor Ikhlas Khan, Dr. Rangesh Parmesh is very simple. How can we utilize the current body of research of Ayurveda products in India to promote the exports?
Thank you very much for this opportunity, and I really enjoyed the previous session because everybody was on the same page and they brought it to very good points. So to your point that research is nothing new, it has been done, and always people are asking about the question about the research, what happened to it. So if you look at the history of natural product, all this research, more than 70% of the products in the pharma industry are natural product derived. So whatever the research has been done from the knowledge to develop drug is already Ayurveda has provided the lead, and these compounds, as you mentioned, even Chinese artemisinin, they become a drug because that was our focus. Can we convert them into a single molecule and make them modern pharmaceuticals, which we did. Now the question is, so it's not that it was unsuccessful. The research was focused on particular area to look at all the traditional medicine, whether it's digitalis and whatever we have, it converted it and it gave the results. So that research was really, and India was the leading authority. I mean, if you look at Indian product and Ayurvedic product, they have very well investigated. So we are way ahead when it's come to the science on our Ayurvedic plant than Chinese. So that we already made a progress. Now the situation is, and you are working in this area since 94 when dietary supplement was created, we were very resistant to recognize whatever is being sold in the market as a Ayurvedic because they were supplement and they are supplements. And so we had this kind of a friction. Is a dietary supplement, whether it's a traditional Ayurvedic medicine? And I think we are still talking about two things. And to me, we have to really focus on Are we going to own all the research on turmeric, gugulistone, and boswellic acid as Ayurvedic, or we should consider them as a separate entity, as a molecule, a model which was based on pharma, that you isolate a single compound and make it there. So if you see all the research going on in the Western world right now on single molecule, are you going to consider as Ayurvedic research? And if it is, then we have to look at differently. Or we are trying to promote the Ayurvedic prescriptions that have been utilized or used for centuries and bring them to the market globally as Ayurvedic product. And we can do both. I'm not saying we have to go this and that, but we have to be very clear. Because when we have a good news about curcumin showing wonderful activity for HIV, we all jump on it. And the next paper comes and they say it really doesn't do anything, and we get all upset about it because this is nothing to do with Ayurveda, it's a single molecule. So I think we have to be really rationalizing it. I don't want to take much time, and I think I have all the panelists I want to hear, but one thing that I would like to, and I heard in the last session, what is missing? I have not heard a single discussion about how much industry is really investing in research and how we are asking government to invest in research. And it's not being done. When you talk about 50 years ago when we were doing research, NBRI, CDRI, Jammu, CMAP, all these institutions were focusing on herbal or botanicals and plant material. Is hardly any institution in India that I can really pinpoint that they are doing basic science. Heavy metal has been the issue for a very, very long time. And whenever we hear this kind of report, we become reactive. The best thing is for India to come out and do the heavy metal research on the plant, because plants are grown outside and they are going to accumulate heavy metal in it. What is our soil condition? Which plant accumulate more? Put the data in public domain and say, okay, this plant cannot be grown with less than 10 ppm. This thing is not being done. So I think I will bring it back to that. When we talk about government involvement, we don't want the rules. We want them to fund the research. Now, industry in India has done a lot of research on their own product. And these products are not generally Ayurvedic products. This is their own product that they are developing. So this is the disconnect to me. So yes, we have a lot of potential, a lot of knowledge. We have a system that can be studied, but the basic science component has to be built in our equation, not just jumping on the clinical trial. Just think about it. If you have Ayurvedic product in 5 institutions, Jamnagar to BHU, and we get a clinical efficacy on the same product, that's a bigger issue. We don't use same product. And we analyze what it is, and then we have a data that you can publish in JAMA. The basic thing, we don't provide that information. So I will stop here.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, Dr. Ikhlas Khan, for sharing with you, Dr. Rangesh Parmesh. So do you have to add to what Professor Ikhlas Khan has said? Sir, you are please unmute. Please unmute.
Yeah, okay. Sorry. At the outset, I thank the organizers giving the opportunity and the esteemed panel to be the part of. And I just wanted to bring out here a very important thing. We have a lot of doubt, dismay, and dispute regarding what is called as Ayurvedic drug. So I just wanted to restrict myself, as Dr. Deepika was talking about, we should respect the law of land. And if you consider that, so we have from our Drugs and Cosmetics Act, 1940, we have 2 types of drugs. One is Ayurvedic drug, which is Section 3A. And there is what is called as Section 3HI and 1 and 2, called Ayurvedic patent or proprietary medicine. There are 2 things. As Professor Ikhlas Khan was talking about, the industry doing their own product. So there is a legal, definition for the second one, which is also considered to be an Ayurvedic product, but it was under a different section called as Ayurvedic proprietary medicine. So Ayurvedic drug and Ayurvedic proprietary medicine, there are 2 of them. Coming to the research that has happened so far on any of these 2. So we have to consider Ayurvedic drug and the definition as it says in the Drug Act as the one which is from the classical texts in the schedule all those literatures which are in the schedule. And the other ones are those same ingredients in those in those formulations made into a proprietary combinations. So when we look at this, the research that has been done in India or elsewhere, and how does it support this exports activity depends on a very important aspect that we need to submit for any registration of a product for any country to be exported to. Okay, so when it has to be an authentic product to be exported, or what do you call official product to be exported to that country, I leave aside all those suitcase trades and etc., and even the online prescription, etc. Only when it is considered to be authoritative product, Ayurveda product, to be there. As we know that we need a very broad-based 4 category of documents to submit. One is the administrative, the second one is the quality, the third one is safety, and the fourth one is efficacy. So broadly, these 4 of them very, very important. When we say administrative, very importantly, that as these aspects which came in the last panel about all that GMP, WGMP, GLP, GACP, and all the T's. And the studies, that research that has happened, as the professor was also talking about, the particularly from farming, agricultural activity, and then procurement, that's where the very quality control that starts with. Our academia has less involved, but fortunately for the last 20 years, or even more than that, all agricultural universities have actually invested their interest into cultivating these medicinal plants and doing a lot of studies, agricultural studies. That we need to, the industry has to use that, that we need to use the data available for developing these documents and GACP and everything together. And the second one, quality, there's no doubt everyone has come into, and then a lot of quality, sorry, Dr. Katia,
just finish in 1 minute, Doctor.
Yeah. That's what, 1 minute. That's it. Okay. With regards to the quality, when it comes, all that it involves the very question, the doubt that is raised with regards to contaminants and everything. A lot of information is also available there, and that we need to, wherever it is missing, that we need to consider. And most of the industry has invested more into this. But when it comes to safety and efficacy, is the most important thing. We have a lot of data available, at least from the clinical industry, where the clinical studies have been done. And as Professor said, the study done by BHU and the Jamnagar on that particular product for Arogavardhini or on any of these products should be of the same standard, so that it will be a uniform thing that needs to be used and submitted. And the safety, of course, human safety, we all talk about because it has a 5,000 years of usage of the Ayurvedic drug. And the ingredients derived from that to make a proprietary drug, and the combination, we need to have essentially these human safety and even that preclinical safety as well, besides the efficacy. That's where the industry is always invested on, and a lot of the data available. And for your information, as you know very well, the Leaf 52, the flagship of Himalaya, as you know, actually celebrates itself the proprietary Ayurvedic medicine, which is having more than 200 clinical studies at the last 50 years. That information is what that values more for acceptance in the exports, and that the validity that it offers. So we can come group together and establish now the way the information that is required for the very valued exports that we can consider. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Rangesh. Yes, indeed, a lot of work has been done by your company on the front of products. Now, my next question is to Professor Lakhotia, and Dr. Mukund Chorgade is a Chief Scientific Officer of Think Pharma in Chicago Discovery Solutions. So both of you, sir, there has to be natural research has to be different between a molecule and an Ayurvedic medicine. Like Dr. Mashelkar long ago said that mice to men, for molecules and men to mice in Ayurvedic medicines. Right, so there's difference. So my next question to you, sir, is what kind of research, in your opinion, will be more appropriate for inculcation of science, whether it be mechanism of action-oriented research or only clinical research? It will be more useful to support the exports and building the base for research through publications. So, Professor Lakhotia first, and then Dr. Mukund.
Okay, thanks, Dr. Katia, and I also thank Pratibha for making me part of this. I may not have real credential to be an Ayurveda expert, but then my interest in Ayurveda was generated partly by upbringing, and but more because of the Ayurvedic biology initiative that was started by Professor Veliathan. That's where I got into, and I wish that continues. Unfortunately, that program has been stopped. It's not being funded directly. And you see, basically, there are certain things that I want to say. Maybe they may sound a little not very polite, but then industry looking for money. But what industry really needs to look at is, are we really talking about Ayurveda? When you said that there have been a lot of research on extracts. Now, extracts are not Ayurveda. Individual molecules are not Ayurvedic. Ayurvedic is a holistic thing, and that's what we need to think about. If like you say, Live 52 is a good example. When you develop something, study something, and develop a more composite picture. But artemisinin-like thing or curcumin-like thing will not be Ayurvedic in my perspective. So if we look at the total Ayurvedic practices, and here we have been concentrating more only on Ayurvedic formulation, but then Ayurveda goes beyond formulation. The whole of idea of Panchakarma, and basically defining Panchakarma in terms of Tridosha. Now, all these we need to really study them. We cannot go on basis of what was stated 4,000 years ago, because there is a practice. Because in absence of active research, we have lots of myths which have got mixed up with facts, and that's where the Ayurveda is really suffering from. And so we need very clear basic research into individual formulations. What do they do? How do they do? And whether they do something. And if they do something, how do they do that? That's come to the next question. And that's where I think the kind of research that I was involved in through the Ayurvedic biology part made me very happy that, yes, we could contribute something to this. But unfortunately, these have not been taken up clinically. For example, we showed that Ras Sindhu, a real heavy metal mercury product, is harmless if prepared in the right way. And that's where comes another question, quality control. If you have read about quality control in US, why not in India, as was stated by Dr. Kaushik, that we need to worry about in India itself. In India, I know some brands of Chyawanprash are really toxic. When I gave them to my Drosophila flies, they died. Now, but these are popular brands sold in market off the counter. Unless industry takes care of this, unless industry comes to support basic research, unless industry comes to be partner with academia, then only Ayurveda can progress. And the other thing that the Ayush Ministry has to worry about is Ayush Ministry issues advisories that non-Ayurvedic people should not conduct research in Ayurveda. I think this is absolutely ostrich-like feeling. They need to get out of it. They need to make sure that we involve all people. We need linguists. We need people who know Sanskrit. We need people who know local languages, understand them well, so that so many manuscripts can be understood. We need physicists, we need chemists, we need Ayurvedic practitioners, we need modern medicine people. All of them need to come together to make sure that the knowledge that is there gets sorted out from facts. And so I think basic research is equally important if we really want to have the continuation of this remarkable body of knowledge. Otherwise, we'll be lost and we'll be making some money without much human welfare. I think I'll stop there, but if there are more questions, I can definitely, I've written several articles which are available and people can read them. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm aware of your article on anti-aging effects of Chyawanprash and other products on Drosophila. So thank you, Professor Mukund. What's your view on this, sir? Man to mice and mice to men, or other alternative approaches?
My view is very, very firm. In a way, I can be considered as rigid. We cannot advance the science of Ayurveda unless we bring the transforming power of chemistry, the rationale and transforming power of molecular biology into our thinking at all levels. There has been a lot of discussion about how Professor Yu too got the Nobel Prize for artemisinin, how Professor Campbell did all the work on ivermectin and so on. And now the Chinese have introduced very powerfully molecules like ginkolite. Please remember that all of that work has been guided by chemistry and molecular biology at a deep-seated fundamental level. People have isolated the natural product, did a very comprehensive structure elucidation, identified all the parameters, and then that got developed into whatever medical formulation that you wanted. Allusion has also been made to 70% of our products being, of course, derived from natural products. Every one of those products has had fundamental chemistry done on it. Professor Ashok Vaidya has been a very passionate believer in this whole science of reverse pharmacology or observational therapeutics. He, in fact, calls it the in clinico research, wherein you make these beautiful observations after administering our Ayurvedic drugs and formulations to real life patients and then bring it back from bedside to bench. When people talk about mouse at the primordial level, people have to do some limited toxicology studies. I'm a firm believer. Take the top 10 medicinal plants of India and you can choose your favorites. I've heard turmeric, I've heard ashwagandha, I've heard Tinospora cordifolia or gulwel. All that is crying out aloud to have very careful structure proofs done. Ladies and gentlemen, our organic chemists all over India, the professors and all that, have stayed away from Ayurvedic research because of all the misconceptions that are circulating around. One of the most common ones that I've heard, oh, if you change the formulation, if you isolate the natural products, the products will lose all medicinal properties. How can that possibly be true? Because all the other natural products have manifested their activity. I'm not advocating a wholesale change in the plant itself. I'm only advocating, let us take a plant like Tinospora cordifolia. We know it has 7, 8, 9 components. Let us get the structure proofs of those. Let us do the mechanistic studies. I'm not advocating that you take 7 tablets arising out of Tinospora per day. No, once you have got a firm founding for proving that the molecules are not toxic, they work by a way, you have validated the science of Ayurveda itself. Now you can go back to administering those same formulations. Please, let us do that. Let us launch a serious effort at industrial and other levels. Sometimes I am very puzzled. People say that, oh, our drugs were rejected at borders because of heavy metal contamination. Sometimes the contamination is preventable. I visited a plant in Mumbai where the contamination of iron was coming from the water that was coming through rusted iron pipes. The lead was coming through soldering of the industrial reactors. These are avoidable problems. We cannot blame Mother Nature for putting in those heavy metals. So again, I'm a very passionate believer in this one. We need to bring the transforming power of chemistry. Please count on my help in any and all of these connections. I'll be able to help not just one person, but let us discuss. I'll be honored to help you in any way I want. There is so much that I'm learning from this team, but sometimes I feel I'm in the wilderness being a real organic chemist and not an Ayurvedic medical doctor. We need to do Ashok Vaidya's in clinico research, but we need to do our in cerebro research as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Mukund. So both of you basically are sort of supporting that basic research is a must. Basic is a must because clinically experience does exist. So next question I have to Dr. Amit Agarwal and again to Karthikeya and to some extent to Professor Ikhlas Khan also. Lot of noise has been made regarding curcumin, ashwagandha, Brahmi, Basilia, and few other products. Now, but have we monetized these successes to realize the possible and potential billion-dollar commerce after this? A. So what has been done? And second, can we plan, like Dr. Mukund said, that can we plan 10 plants for next 10 years on which India should focus, and what kind of research which will bring the multi-billion-dollar commerce? So first Dr. Amit, and then Karthikeya, and then Dr. Ikhlas Khan. So Dr. Amit.
Good evening, Dr. Katiyar, and thanks to the organizers for this opportunity. In my opinion, we have not even scratched the surface of the total potential of these plants. I mean, there's a lot more that can be gained or benefited from globally by doing the right kind of research. I was also seeing some messages in the chat box, and I humbly beg to disagree with Dr. Deepika or anybody else who says that enough clinical studies have been done. My opinion is it is the clinical studies of the kind that is what we call as RCT, the double-blind placebo-controlled studies, which can permit label claims, claims for which FTC will not come after you. I mean, we have a very good example here, what Karthikeya has done with KSM 66, or to some extent, a smaller extent, we have done on Brahmi, Bacopa monnieri. Once we do such studies which permit formation of claims, and we are able to make science-based claims, that's when people start to want to use that product, basically for the sake of claims. Just take a very short example. We did about 4 or 5 clinical studies, and we went to a regulated country like Brazil. Now, Brazil has a regulatory body called ANVISA. ANVISA permitted us one claim, just one clinical claim. And just with the availability of that claim, we had a big MNC approach us saying we would like to market the product. And that's what they have done finally. So in my mind, yes, we have done Ayurveda, a lot of research has occurred. If you also look at EMA, EMEA monographs, now it's EMEA, I mean, they call for assessment of the clinical data or assessment of botanical to say whether or not there can be a well-established use. Almost in every assessment, you find the conclusion is there is not enough science. So a lot of work, clinical studies we are doing on polyherbal stuff. We need to do this on single ingredient. And having generated the data, we should be able to approach these, at least the medium regulated countries, get our products registered and make science-based claims. This is my opinion on this.
Thank you. So Karthikeya, you have done a lot of good research, and that has resulted into commerce. I know your vision is to beat the commerce of ginseng in the long term, maybe 10, 25 years. But I think the kind of research what you are doing, already you have got some successes. So what do you, what's your opinion on should you work on more plants, on which kind of research will lead to billion-dollar commerce?
Sure. So, well, I do echo completely what Dr. Amit was mentioning, and even Dr. Mukund. I think to begin with, firstly, evidence, that is what we need. You know, even when I was reading in the chat box, well, our grandmothers and our mothers have given us Ayurvedic products and we have been taking us in India. We believe Ayurveda works, but in the West, they need evidence-based science. And this is what my personal experience has been in the last 10 years. First, I would like to divide this into B2B and B2C. So when we take business to business, you know, we make extracts and we sell to people who manufacture finished products. I would say what Dr. Mukund mentioned a while ago is absolutely important, standardization of the ingredient. We have to, I'm not saying that let's completely isolate the molecule. That's a very different approach that Dr. Khan was telling a while ago. But standardization of the ingredient is absolutely must, which gives confidence in terms of quality. And then if we talk about B2C, then of course, evidence is important for both. Even for the end consumers today, consumers are so cognizant. End consumer, the product that they are taking, is it efficacious or is it being proven? One small example I'll give, you know, we've been doing a clinical study. I think this is going to be a landmark study on ashwagandha, on our ingredient, in 8 countries right now and on 1,200 subjects. And the very reason we are doing this is to get an approved EFSA health claim in Europe. There's no Ayurvedic ingredient that has a claim right now by EFSA. And we are very close to that. And as Dr. Ikhlas mentioned a while ago, that yes, we have companies like us have been doing studies on our ingredients, but this benefits everybody else. This helps in creating awareness. I have a lot of times people coming and telling that, the best thing is like a rising tide lift all boats. Even if the research has been done on our ingredient, it's benefiting everybody else in the industry as well. So I definitely see a lot of potential. I think, as Dr. Amit mentioned, we haven't even touched the tip of the iceberg. Just ashwagandha, the data that I have with me right now, the ashwagandha market last year in North America alone was $400 million, which again, I think is an under number. But each of these ingredients we have hardly tapped. There are just 4 or 5 ingredients that you said have started making noise. But there's a long way to go. And I believe if we can focus on maybe top 10 Ayurvedic ingredients, as Dr. Mukund also was mentioning, yes, I think, and also more important is awareness. More and more awareness needs to be created. What we have done so far is not enough.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay, Karthikeya, thank you very much. So last word from Dr. Professor Ikhlas Khan before we close because shortage of time. So Professor Ikhlas Khan, what's your opinion on this? How to convert the researches into multi-billion-dollar commerce, and which kind of research would be done actually?
Yeah, thank you very much. I mean, one thing to clarify, when I said it is about Ayurvedic community to accept it, what you are doing as a Ayurveda or single ingredient. So I think we do have a confusion in our minds. So that needs to be clear that any progress we make with a single molecule or the whole standardization, we are bringing everybody up and we are one. And generally that's not the discussion because you see some people, this is not Ayurveda. So this is what my point was. Now, if you remember, Dr. Katiyar, you are aware of the Nimitli product, which was done in 2000 for 10 products. I didn't see any results yet. What I would like to see, if you probably can take the model which Chinese had, is they call it modernization of TCM or traditional Chinese medicine. I would like to put it all this effort into basic science. We cannot develop a product without industry. Industry have to find their own. Industry will be really flourishing and making more if they have a lot more things coming in the pipeline. So I will suggest to put all this effort and resources into basic science where they can take the lead and develop a product rather than choosing only 10 products, because Ayurveda, there are a lot of herbs which have not got the attention, which have wonderful activity, and you all know that. And I think that will spur the excitement to the industry to pick up rather than forcing 1 or 2. So they have a choice. We can develop 10 or 5. It should be a pipeline like it was in the pharma. We do the basic science, and the industry, which is really grown a lot and have done wonderful work, is just take the lead from that one. So I will not be focusing on top 10 just to give all the money to one, rather than create the environment of the research on the basic science and chemistry, and then we can move forward.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Ikhlas Khan. So with that, if somebody, some of the panelists want to share his thoughts within a minute, we are open. Otherwise, we close the session and thank Dr. Pratibha. Yes, sir.
Well, can I say something?
Sir. Sure.
Yes. See, the point that Dr. Khan had made just now is that, yes, if we look at extracts, we look at individual molecules, that what Dr. Chorgade made, that yes, we need to look at molecules. But then let's understand, that's where the modern medicine began, from looking at individual molecules and so on. And that's where we have so many worries about side effects and so on. And what I understand in Ayurvedic practices is the anupana and that these are complex mixtures. And so what an individual molecule does will not be done by when it's in a complex formation. And that's what I think what we need to first start with is the standard formulations. What do they do? What do they not do? How do they work? That should be known. That should be understood, because this can also give rise to new repurposing of some of the drugs. For example, what we saw is Ras Sindoor, a heavy mercury, but it can be remarkably efficient for Alzheimer's and Huntington's. This has not been done, but I wish Ayurvedic community comes out of its shell looks at these things, does a clinical trial and see whether it works or not. But basic research is what is going to give the lead. And I think that's what we to support. Industry must come forward in active partnership with academia to support this kind of work. That's where it will, your $1 billion, $1 trillion that you're talking about may only sound very attractive, but then it will not go in a long way unless it is really supported by good evidence, good understanding. That's what I would like to say.
Professor Lakhotia, I loved what you said. You need to have a nice consortium between academia, industry, and government.
Absolutely.
But when you talked about the academic professors, we may have to create a couple of chairs and all that for people who are studying Ayurveda. Most of the organic chemistry establishment, I use that word in quotes, has not directed any of their research efforts or their students towards this.
I agree. I agree.
That mindset also.
Yes, but then just one moment. The problem is that with the Ayurvedic community itself, they don't want to come out. Which is they were to come out and then involve the regular professors, regular academia in other departments, get into collaboration, and then the ball will start rolling. That is not happening.
Thank you. Well said.
Sir, thank you. Thank you very much to all the elite members, expert members of our panel. Thank you very much for sharing your views, and we will continue the dialogue as Dr. Pratibha said every quarter, and maybe some of the ideas that we discussed today will be noted down, and some action points also we may discuss during the next quarter of meeting. So thank you very much all the members of the panel. With it, I hand over to Dr. Pratibha once again. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Katiyar, and thank you to all the esteemed panelists for insightful comments and directions. Dr. Mahadevan, please leave the spotlights on. Please, can you bring them on? Thank you. Thank you. So I have only one panelist left in my panel. Two have not come, and Dr. Deepika I took already. And so, I'll be able to finish my panel rather quickly, looks like. So I will just stay here. I think one is missing. Who's missing in this spotlight? Dr. Mahadev, please have a look. Dr. Amit Agrawal, can you please bring him on spotlight, please? Thank you. Oh, he's there. Okay. So I just want to thank everyone. I think everyone has made a very, unique perspective. And I think in the beginning, as I had mentioned, that we are going to be hoping to come together in the spirit of collaboration and communication, and being open to receiving a different point of view and different perspectives. So that way, the whole effort can be more enriched and can shape much stronger and much robust. So with that, I do want to say that I would like to, at this point, request Dr. Chorgade and Varchasvi ji to confirm being on the advisory, because I think only you two I have not received a confirmation. Is Varchasvi ji there? He may have dropped off.
I can swear on oath that I am very excited about that possibility. I will collaborate with you, work with you in any capacity. I'm honored, in fact, to have been even invited.
Nay, Dr. Chorgade, you're going to be a very valuable advisor. And I think the best thing I personally love about you is your enthusiasm. It's just infectious. So thank you so much for that. So thank you for accepting. And I think I'm going to request Ranjit ji or Katiyar ji to bring in Varchasvi ji's consent as well to be on the advisory. And secondly, I would like to ask all present here if a quarterly meeting is good for everybody. Thank you. And is it okay to keep it 2 hours? Because we will not be having these kind of leading panel discussions moving forward. Most likely we will be doing like a virtual roundtable where we bring in next steps or, whatever action items we might be able to take today, hopefully. So thank you for that as well. Can everybody look into their calendars and see if 10th April, 7:30 to 9:30 IST, 7:30 to 9:30 PM IST is suitable for everybody so that we can lock in the date? 10th April.
10th April.
It's a Sunday again. Is it workable for everybody? If it's not, please unmute and please share. It's far off, so I hope it should not be a problem, and we'll keep it briefer, obviously, than this meeting.
10th April, fine, yeah.
Will you be sharing the email contacts of some of the very wonderful people that we have met today? Because it's entirely possible that people may want to discuss with
Mukundji,
each other.
everybody is CC'd on the email. So not BCC'd, everybody is CC'd on the email. So please feel free to communicate with anybody you like. Hopefully with everyone's permission. We have not kept it BCC because it's a closed group. So, okay. So 10th April, I would assume that everybody is available. 7:30 to 9:30. And I can't tell you how grateful I feel, and I really appreciate that you're making yourself available, because the hope is that this could be that non-governmental platform where we can come and really be very candid and open and, can shape the vision that we want to see. I hope that's okay with everybody. And before I go into my panel, I would like to, if Praveen Mittalji is here, or has he left? Katerji, is he here?
I think he's left.
He's left. Okay. I'm going to request, as soon as I'm able to finish my one question or one panelist panel, if all of you can please think of some action items that we can take for the next meeting. I think what I would personally suggest, and of course we are going to do a conclusion session also, just 10 minutes. But if we can get some kind of liaison between the regulatory bodies, local as well as global, like Ayush, WHO, and local consulates, to kind of get them to have a little bit of a guideline document, or documents actually published in unison, not as a standalone Ayush guideline or a WHO guideline or a consulate guideline, but a universally accepted guideline for practitioners. Please read the local laws. Please look for GMP certification. Please blah, blah, blah. A 5-point guideline or 10-point guideline for the practitioners, because we all know that implementation is where it's always challenging. How can any regulatory body get into the practitioner's office and really watch everything? We can't have watchdogs everywhere. But at least to begin with, as a first step, can we have a universal, like, consensus guideline document for practitioners? Like we have a benchmark document for education by WHO right now, but we have nothing, no guideline benchmark document for practitioners who are here, who are unlicensed, and who are in some ways navigated towards the non-conventional sources without sometimes knowing. So can we have that? Is my one request, but we can shape some 4 or 5 action items with your guidance. So if you can just give me 5 minutes, I'm going to finish my panel with Dr. Suhas. And then we can open this. Dr. Suhas, are you okay if we open it for discussion right away? Would you be okay? And we can take your views to begin with. Is that all right?
Anything you prefer, that's fine.
Thank you, because there's no panel left right now. It's just you and I. Okay, so I will go ahead and open it for any commentaries, starting with Dr. Suhas. So Dr. Suhas, take it away. Any comment? I know you have probably just joined, so you may not have much context to the discussion that was going on.
I don't think so. I've been listening to everyone patiently since 6 o'clock in the morning. So
Oh, you have been? You've been here?
Fairly, absolutely. I was here all
sorry.
around.
I saw you joining again, so maybe you had dropped off. Please go ahead. Please go ahead.
Different
5 minutes to you completely, please.
No worries. Thank you. So once again, I greatly appreciate this wonderful effort by CAR, and greatly appreciate the leadership, Pratibha ji and Ranjit ji and Katiyar ji and even Sita Raman ji. I think this is a wonderful effort moving forward, because as a clinician, I'm not an industry expert myself. What I see is that there are 3 or 4 different things that we are talking about here. Number one is we are discussing about what the classical Ayurveda and what the classical Ayurvedic formulations are and were at a given time. There's a greater need for anyone who practices a classical Ayurvedic practice would need some of the products in the same form as it is described in the classical Ayurvedic literature. And even there, they have actually come up with so many different formats to improve the potency, the efficacy in different ways. So given to the science and the technology available there, when we talk about products like Kashayams and Asavas and Arishtas and Avaleha, they were all different versions to make the products more potent through different modes of activity, whether we talk about alcohol or water-soluble extracts or variety of different things. So even then, we should not even look at them as something which is frozen in time. Even they tried in their own ways, and it's our time to actually look at what is the current need and how can we actually take this forward. So what I see in my clinical practice, not only we are using whole herbs that is there, and we talk greatly about the issue of contamination and everything. I think cultivation is very, very important, and we need to have a government level efforts on cultivation of the medicinal plants, really making it available for the next level for whatever we want to do. Whether we use whole herbs in a tablet or a powder or a capsule, whether we use a single formulation or a polyherbal formulation, again, it sources down to the purity and the quality and the cultivation together. Then the next level, which is really important for me as a clinician, is the herbal extracts. And I personally kind of believe that the herbal extracts is the way to move forward, taking Ayurvedic medicine to the next level in the various form, whether we talk about water, alcohol, or fat-soluble extract, because from a clinical perspective, I think the extracts are more potent, they are fast-acting, they have a longer shelf life, and they can be easily customized, because as you can create an extract, there's a big process of standardization that happens where you can consistently monitor the adequate dosage and guarantee how much the herb is containing in every format that we are using. So it actually makes us to use less amount of herb, the less dosage is needed, it can be customized properly. And the standardized extract, the same dose that is delivered consistently, actually helps us to digest the herbs even more better. Because what I've seen in my clinical experience is many of the tinctures and the whole herb extracts are actually helping the digestion for the herbs to be absorbed much, much better. The tinctures, especially the alcohol one, actually help with the quality of your digestive fire itself. Another important thing I've been listening to Mukunji and everyone else, that yes, there's need for science-based claims that we are doing. The research is absolutely needed, the clinical research to document the efficacy, because whatever we are talking about, there are several industries. It could be purely a nutraceutical industry, it could be an herbal food industry that we're talking about, and taking the extracts to an alkaloid, to a molecule, which almost takes it to a pharmaceutical industry level. And that journey has always happened, whether we talk about morphine or pilocarpine, everybody has gone through that journey. So we should not be scared whether an Ayurvedic herb would actually reach to a pharmaceutical level at all. Absolutely not. And it's a good idea that some of the top Ayurvedic herbs can reach to that level, but it doesn't mean that we should not be able to use our herbs in our given format the way it is described as such. So whether we're talking about businesses that are going to provide these extracts to other businesses to come up with various formulation, we need to have this stringency of the practices and procedures in place. And then the business to the customers, also we need to create variety of different policies and practices so that as a clinician, I'm sure that whatever I'm giving to my patient is not only working, is not only efficacious, but is also safe. And I think both of those things at a government level, and Ayush has done commendable job in the last 10 years to actually take this forward. Means we should not undermine their efforts at all. In last 10 years, we have taken giant strides in this area. And I think the world is changing, the world is evolving, and it's time for us to take Ayurveda to the next level, I would say. So again, very happy to be a part of this initiative, and I would continue to interact with all of you dignitaries who are the top brains in this field. And I hope we can really take this forward for the 22nd century, I would say. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. So at this time, thank you so much, Dr. Suhas, for bringing in your perspective as a, quite a veteran practitioner here, and in many ways involved with a lot of Ayurveda fraternity and their activities here. So thank you. That's very valuable. At this time, everybody can come on video and everybody can share their thoughts. I have some comments from Dr. Ismat from Canada. Ismat from Canada. I will share them in the chat section, but please go ahead. Any evolving thoughts after these stimulating panel discussions? We can go with the open forum till 11:45, and then we will focus on some takeaways and some action items and some context for the next meeting. Thank you. Please go ahead.
10:45. No, not 11, ma'am. 10:45.
For us.
For
right, us.
Yeah,
EST,
right.
Yes.
So,
10:15 for India.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. So can I ask one question from Dr. Ikhlas Khan?
Ji.
Professor Ikhlas Khan, supposing as research is done that Brahmi is inhibiting acetylcholine esterase enzyme, and therefore cis Brahmi has traditionally been known to enhance memory. If this additional activity is done, which I may call basic research also on enzymatic activity, so is it, if it is inhibiting acetylcholine esterase activity, will it help in better promotion of products in US or Europe, even for that matter, after publication, of course?
So here we will get into the legal issues. In dietary supplement in US, you cannot make any claim for any efficacy. So the thing is, does it help to sell the product like based on clinical trial? It certainly does. The question is, to me, having a one enzymatic assay showing some activity, and we are looking other beneficial effect of the whole extract and the way it's being promoted in Ayurveda, I think that's where, to me, this is where we have advantage. Single molecule having from this and that is really, that molecule can be present in somewhere else. So we are shifting our gears, which is not a bad thing. But if we want to be focused, we don't want to do the curcumin and curcuma. So the thing is, this research is separate, it's a developmental work. It will feed into our confidence level of, for outside people, yes, Brahmi has something which can help. But in fact, looking at the additional effects, synergistic or other effect, and lowering the cytotoxicity, because anything you purify, anything you're going to take more is going to raise the safety concern. And that's where people are not paying it. They think is natural. And it can cause a problem. So to me, yes, this research needs to be done. It helps to feed into our thing, but we should be also looking at the whole composition, entourage effect of that one, where Ayurveda has a lot to offer.
I'll just make a quick comment on certain things that are kind of coming up. So I think a lot of you were there in the September event We had the industry roundtable followed by consortium on collaborative research in Ayurveda. So today's event is a sequence from the industry roundtable. Similarly, from the collaborative research event, we have a consortium for collaborative research that is emerging, or the first meeting similar to this, the kickoff meeting is happening in February. So I just wanted to share this with everybody that this particular event is focused on the industry side of things, but we will be discussing practice, education, and basic research a little more in that event. All of you are very welcome to attend that as well. Please email me if you're interested, because it's going to be another closed meeting. And I just had a meeting in my 10 o'clock p.m. yesterday night for announcing the kickoff. So I'll be sending out the email blast tonight or tomorrow for that. So I do want to share that is also happening separately. And so it's like a two-stream approach. Number one. Number two, I just wanted to bring in one thing here, that I know of a research in AIMS that was, and pardon me for not being very clear about what was the intervention. It was either Satopladi or Lagutsuchekar. I'm not very clear. Maybe Katyarji knows, Balinduji's, where the intervention did not have any iron containing ingredient. However, the iron levels in these subjects went up. So this is a very small and simple example of how we should be really and seriously looking at developing our own research approach, research methodology. This molecule to molecule to molecule to biophysiology is probably, we are once again being the followers, not the leaders. So I think this is a very absolutely critical point that I'm probably not articulating well enough, but I hope you get the gist of it, that we have to think differently. We are not Western medicine. We are not a molecule-based medicine. We are a polyherbal formulation-based pathy or science. We have to remember who we are. We can't wear a Western coat and start pretending we are Western suddenly. That's my too humble sense. And I'm not saying that we don't need to contemporize, we don't need to modernize. All those things can continue to happen. We can continue to experiment. But 5,000 years of data, we cannot just kick off in one stroke. And we need to have our own methodology, our own template to measure our efficacy, our successes. And these are data, like Dr. Katyarji has been saying in some of our internal meetings, that we have not done enough to consolidate what we know so far, which is a big gap, huge gap. Like Dr. Katyarji, you were mentioning about vitamin C in amla. None present. None present.
Amla does not contain vitamin C. Is a little known but very important research.
I mean, how critical is that? Any website you see, they're screaming about highest source of vitamin C, amla. So, I mean, we have a lot of in-house fixing to be done. So with that, I again pass it on to the experts. I think at this time, a couple more comments, and then we can do the takeaways. We have, yes, Dr. Yashaswini.
And then Dr. Sodhi also wants to.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Pratibha, for giving me this chance and for arranging this as well. I represent Australia. I come as an international coordinator of Australian Ayurveda Medicine Industry Council. And as you know, I come from the eye of the storm. That is where all the churning began. And I would like to present a few things from the point of view of practitioner in Australia. As you can understand, it has become very, very difficult for a practitioner to practice in Australia because we don't have products there. or we have very little products left for us. And that is why whenever there is this Ayush Export Council formed, we expect a lot of things from that council. And, you know, with all the standardization and all of the long-term goals, it's all great, but we need some first aid as well for Australia. There's nothing left for us. And it is really beautiful because Australia is one of the countries where Ayurveda is recognized as a bona fide healthcare system. It is a medicine system, and it has received a GST-free status as well. And it's been there like that for a very long time. It was there under skilled migration as well, which was taken off in 2012, unfortunately. And now there's a lot of history and a lot of failed attempts as well. And even now we have failed, unfortunately, to reach out to the Ayush Ministry. We have tried many times, but unfortunately we couldn't reach there. And we need a lot of help, and we expect a lot as well from this Ayush Export Council. So yeah, I hope all the people are listening to us. And you know, it's not like TGA has not tried. It is not all the fault of TGA. It has a lot of you know, it has included a lot. It has tried a lot to include Ayurveda in it. And they also recognize terminologies like Amapachaka, Agnideepak, and all those. So if we all we have to do is put our representation to TGA as well. Chinese have done that, and now there's no one from Ayurveda. And if at all they have to come back to anyone to ask questions, there's no one. In the year 2014, there was a revision about complementary medicine, and Australian government wanted to recognize Ayurveda as a full-scale medical system. And they asked, they didn't know whom to write to, and they reverted back to the Indian Medical Council, and unfortunately did not get a response from either from the Indian government or from the council. And they followed it up after 3 months and nothing. So we do expect, you know, some kind of help either from this forum or from the government.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Yashaswini.
Thank you.
So I do want to say at this point that we will be sharing with this whole group a document that will be titled Questions Bank, and another document that will be titled Suggestions Bank. So please start to put in your, you know, specific views or challenges or suggestions in there. Dr. Lakhotia ji needs to leave. Thank you so much, Dr. Lakhotia ji, for enriching our discussion. And I hope you will be open to us reaching out to you for any advice and guidance.
Yes, thanks. I'm sorry I'll have to leave, but I'll be available. And I think we need to consider some of the points that I have written. Later on, we can talk more about that. Thank you so much.
See, we will document it formally.
Bye.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much. Dr. Sodhi, you wanted to please go ahead. Please unmute.
Yes, first of all, my namaskaram to all of you, esteemed guests, and beautiful work presented by Pratibha Shah. And I see so many familiar, wonderful friends in the group there. I've, as you know, been practicing in the USA for the last 38 years now, and been as a physician for the last 41 years. And I've been in the trenches, seen the both sides of it. I dabbled into the manufacturing of Ayurvedic products, and we were the first one to use standardized extract in USA to make Ayurvedic products. So, and that actually came because of the troubles we were having in India. The products were not good. They have heavy metal, they have a contamination issue. And the FDA of USA, when they examined our product, they have mouse excreta, pigeon excreta, and all kind of stuff. So, and I understand, a lot of different things because I'm from the industry and also as a physician too. We have lots of issues, there's no doubt about it. When we talk about research, there's a lot of clinical data available, but small batches, 20 subjects, 30 subjects, 50 subjects. In a standard of medicine that are not even statistically enough, to prove that data. I think a lot of people in the will understand that. Yes, we have, but we don't have. And then, also, we also not need to go to the molecular biology. Yes, we need to understand those. Let me tell you one thing, like, I'm very heavily dabbled into research because this is my passion. Like beta carotene, when you take a synthetic molecule, behaves entirely differently. Folic acid, when you take it synthetically, behave entirely differently as a folates. So, there is the research and research public, like selenium, there's, all this data is available. They entirely behave differently and does not prove the subject what they needed to prove. So we have, there is a very dilemma we have there, how to progress with the current knowledge and at the same time. I love molecular biology. I think this molecular biology concept, which we have in the last 10 years or so, has helped us a tremendous understanding of how these molecules can click on, off different genetic markers and pathways and can achieve the results we can achieve. So I think that understanding is important, but at the same time, we cannot make them to a completely chemical. I think the results, because there is a synergy, and there is plants who grow in a natural, because we grow our own plants, the herbs in India. We have tested the plant grown in south and north and east and west, and they have entirely different chemical composition. We have HPLCs and stuff, and certain areas you grow the herbs, they extract more heavy metals naturally in them. So because the land is there, and certain plants has a more affinity to certain more heavy metals. So, there is a huge science there. There's actually crazy science which we need to understand, because the land and the plant, they can have affinity, different affinity. Like one very common plant, which we know is a horsetail, we call here Ayurceutics. It naturally concentrates the silver in it. Then we were making our liver preparation, so we were growing the very common radish, and certain places radish was concentrating so much arsenic in it, because the land has arsenic and it was just pulling out the arsenic out of it, and certain land we didn't have any arsenic. So I think there is a huge we need to have interesting studies on this and say, okay, there is maybe test the land and certain plants, and this data should be available, will concentrate different kind of heavy metal. So I think we have a huge learning curves here, and the synergy of the plants, I think the Ayurvedic medicine, why we try to do clean the products, why we want to do different kashayams, there is a huge polypharmacy which is there, and I wanted to understand those, because there is an amazing wisdom in those things. And I think then we have our other the methods which we use there has a different preparations, like a talum, a ghritam. If you want to go to the brain, these guys have done that research, and because now you
so could you wrap up your thoughts? So sorry,
yeah,
but we have to conclude.
That's okay. Yeah. So basically what I'm saying is, I think there is a huge undertaking which we all need to do. The more we combine our effort, we can have a amazing success. And I think with that, I will stop here.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I think we are in the conclusion section now. I think I can't thank everybody enough. I think we have all come from our consolidated perspectives, and we have all identified different parts of the elephant. And the elephant is huge. So I think what I would like to propose is that when we stand at the foothill of Mount Everest, it seems like an unsurmountable task. But if we break it down into smaller steps, I think it is completely possible. So I think with that attitude and that spirit, I think I would like to propose that we identify all of the things that we have identified today. Those are all real, and they're all unique in their own nature. And all of them are important, but I think we need to have a little clarity about breaking it into nuggets, which, little by little, because all of it cannot, accumulated things cannot be done overnight. So we all know that. So I would like to invite some of the key experts here to give one action item that we can take on by the time or before the next meeting or for the next meeting. And I'm going to start with Dr. Rangesh Parmeshji. Could you please give us one action item that we can take up, and you can also help us guide in that. As an advisor, I'm reaching out to you.
Yeah, well, I think what we can do first thing is to collate the efforts to bring the quality has been highlighted very much, because that's where the first point of the entry of the product to any geographies, or for other subsequent benefits, safety, efficacy, and everything else. So we need to arrive at I'm just on the top of the mind. I'm trying to say that they need to figure out clearly the steps that needs to be done. Is broadly to say that we need to do an effort on mapping what is possible, what is available, what is possible, and what is available with us today, the data with both industry and academia together, and then collate all that. For example, just to give an idea about this is like, Chyawanprash, as Professor Lakutia said, Chyawanprash was quite toxic for the Drosophila, for example. What was that? The insight is there. So inside, obviously, whether it is that particular sample was having any truly physico-chemical issues, or subsequently the biological issues, like be it is the dose and other things, etc. That we'll say later. But before that is this physico-chemical, the quality perspective per se, and what data we have both from the starting and until the finished product. I'm talking about entire thing. It's as WHO defines the herbal quality, the herbal preparation quality, and then herbal formulation, the product quality. There are three steps that we need to consider. It's not one. People always talk about the herbal product means the final preparation. It is the Aragyavardhini Rasa or leaf or whatever it is. So that is herbal product. Herbal preparation is all these extracts, powders, and then arcas and whatnot else. And then herbal ingredient, what is called as HRM, herbal raw material, which is from the GACP and all that. So all these, what data do we have, both in agriculture universities and the industry as well as the academia have done. We need to collate all that, consolidate that, and bring it all in one common platform that everybody can use it. And then what is the gaps there we can identify over a period of time. It may not happen in one day. We have, as you know, that our repository is quite huge. It is impossible to say everything we can cover, but at least the major ones, the most important, widely used across by the practitioners, those products which are popularly used, that we need to map it up and see that we establish from that point the most important data that every ministry and regulators of the country is different, at different levels, third world, first world, and advanced world, etc. Have arrive at a common understanding about the quality of that. If we can bring that common stream, and only this forum, I think, can be able to do it, because if industry does, they always look at you have a commercial interest. I don't believe you. And if academia says you don't have any industrial experience, you don't know how to do the commerce into that. If the academicians does, they say you are only in the university professors. You can't you come and tell us anything about it. And so all these put together, that we need to bring out in a big voice. So that would help actually the future Ayurveda.
So Rangesh, who would be the agencies involved? QCI, Export Council, who else? Ayush?
Yes, of course. Ayush will be the better also, and then Promotion Council now, and then we need to bring in, from the cultivation part, particularly that we have, today, if you look at the American industry, you go to any of them, Green, New Chapter, anybody else, go to their, even in Gaia Herbs, amazing. They give link to that field in a form which
raw
shows
material
acres of land, and even using modern agricultural techniques to use it. And we get it right from there. They give their evidence. Now, how do we do that? We pull that. What agriculture universities have been able to do that? So probably some, ICR, Indian Council of Agricultural Research, somebody who who has been able to supervise that medicinal plant cultivation programs at the universities. I still remember some of the efforts in Bangalore that Karnataka, GKVK, Gandhi Krishi Vijnana Kendra, the Agriculture University of the Karnataka, have that Faruqi and their team did wonderful job with CMAP, which was actually adjacent to them. It's a big effort. I don't know, all their efforts have been in the cold storage or whatever, so that we need to mine this
CMAP.
out.
What is that?
CMAP. GKVK, in that medicinal plant, there was a huge BSc and MSc and PhD course also in that.
So I will reach out to you, Rangesh, for that.
Yeah, I will give you some details, yes, contacts also. Yes.
Okay. If I may consolidate what you're saying, I think you're saying pick up successful case studies.
Yes.
Gaia and maybe CMAP, something like that. So pick up successful case studies and create some kind of a template to go about.
Yeah, for the top 10 herbs, top 20 herbs.
Yeah, I was just going to say top 10 herbs for kind of a pilot for developing an SOP for this.
Yes.
Okay, does that sound good? So
yes,
we
definitely.
will, if everybody agrees, can I send this to Ayush for, as a like 2-3 points that we are going to now come up with to kind of get them into also, you know, as a stakeholder to support this process, this vision. Thank you. May I request Dr. Amit Agrawal ji to give some direction, insight? Thank you.
Just one quick point, Dr. Pratibha. I noticed that you have the benefit of having experts in various countries. We just heard a practitioner from Australia. So one simple, small action, maybe a baby step, but I think it will go a long way, is many of these regulatory bodies, like your Health Canada or TGA, they have what they call as a recognized pharmacopoeia. For instance, TGA recognizes some 5 or 6 different pharmacopoeias. You have the People's Republic of China pharmacopoeia there, or the Chinese pharmacopoeia. You do not have the Ayurvedic pharmacopoeia as a officially recognized pharmacopoeia by TGA. Similarly, sometime back in Health Canada, I saw they have listed up to API, that is the Ayurvedic Pharmacopoeia of India, volume 5. But now we have up till volume 9. So there's a whole lot of other pharmacopoeia additions, which are perhaps just requiring maybe a facilitation that maybe you can facilitate if the Indian PCIMN NH can submit officially their set of pharmacopoeias or communicate to them our standard setting process. Our Katyars are here and many other experts are witness to this elaborate process. So my simple recommendation would be if CAR could try and get the Indian pharmacopoeia recognized by the regulatory bodies, it would pave path, because I know for Australia there is a separate shorter route if you're trying to export a botanical which is present in the regulated pharmacopoeia. This is all I want to say.
Who's the agency, Amitji, for this?
TGA for Australia, it would be TGA.
No, for India, like who would facilitate this?
Okay,
Ayush?
PCIM is the Pharmacopoeia Commission of Indian Medicine, which comes within the Ministry of Ayush.
Okay, PCIM, P for Peter.
No, Pharmacopoeia, yeah, P for Peter, Commission
Ma'am,
of
it
Indian
is called Pharmacopoeia Commission of Indian Medicine. Pharmacopoeia Commission of Indian Medicine and our Ministry of Ayush.
Okay. So, sorry, I'm going to pass on the baton to Ranjit ji to identify further experts, and even if he has any, and Katyar ji. Ranjit ji and Katyar ji, please, if you could get couple more insights, because we have just 2 minutes left, but of course we can stay for a couple more minutes, but.
So, I would like to say that because multiple countries are having different kind of pharmacopoeia, nobody has done any work on harmonization of pharmacopoeia and even compilation of the parameters. So like Ayurvedic Pharmacopoeia of India, Indian Pharmacopoeia, these two pharmacopoeia, even Unani Pharmacopoeia exist in India. 3, all the 3 are having different parameters. So if we can start, somebody can start compiling Indian Pharmacopoeia, United States Pharmacopoeia, Ayurvedic Pharmacopoeia of India, Chinese Pharmacopoeia, and compile all the parameters. And then we can look at how can we bring harmonization, because that will help us in pushing our case to foreign regulatory bodies also, that look at these are the parameters followed by this pharmacopoeia. These are the formulations followed by this pharmacopoeia. And therefore, Ayurvedic Pharmacopoeia of India has two parts. One is formulation, the other is ingredient. So I think this sort of compilation, I am very sorry to say, nobody had done this kind of formulation. I did when I was working in Ranbaxy. At that time, I worked at 11 or 12 countries pharmacopoeia at that time. But after that, it is almost 10, 15 years old work. So if we can also take up this work and to help us, because right now we don't even know.
Can we thank Rangesh ji? Thank you so much for taking so much time out. Really, really appreciated, Rangesh ji. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Everybody. It was a pleasure and an honor to be with you all.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Amit ji has something to say. Amit ji?
Just to update Katiyar sir, very recently, perhaps it did come to your attention, the PCIMH has been instructed to come up with this philosophy called one herb, one standard. Because apart from the 3-4 pharmacopoeias you mentioned, we also have FSSAI standard, we have BIS, which is Bureau of Indian Standards. So there is multiplicity of standards. So there is already an effort in place under one herb, one standard. And PCIMH is already on the job. But perhaps if CAR likes to involve itself, this could be one opportunity.
Okay. Thank you so much. Ranjit ji?
Yes, it's a combination of a summary given by Harpinder ji as well as Dr. Shahbag. That is evolving some kind of guidelines on international trade of Ayush formulations. And this starts from the manufacturer, moves into say to the cultivators or collectors and traders, because that's something that Dr. Rangesh spoke about, is the GAP involvement in all of that. It moves towards laboratories, and laboratories that accredit themselves to compendiums that are already in place, norms that are already in place. So whether it's the DSHEA GMPs, whether USP helps us, NSF helps us, moving towards the other side of a foreign supplier verification program, and kind of shaking hands with something like this. That's as far as the laboratories go. Hopefully something credible comes out, which becomes a acceptable referral laboratory kind of paradigm. We move further towards the same guidelines, talking to distributors and talking to importers. Also moving forward towards education of practitioners. First, practitioners who are the Zoom and courier package kind of practitioners, as well as the practitioners who are in foreign geographies, to kind of insist on this quality guideline. That's something very important. It's something that also further, exactly the way Harpinder ji said, needs to be fed into marketplaces like maybe Amazon or Instacart, if I got it correctly, or others that crop up from time to time. So, this becomes the entire kind of communication, which is positive, non-governmental, and something that kind of brings in all the experiences and serves as a first step shield to such kind of adverse events and adverse reporting that, kind of takes us really back. So this is something as to how to actualize this with the Ayush Export Promotion Council, because I don't want to pick up this burden and just file it in the name of Ayush Export Promotion Council. We need to actualize something like this. And there's great amount of wisdom right here that can, give various dimensional inputs. Also, most importantly, outline the threshold quality required in terms of a medicine. We will, of course, deal with herbals first before moving on to Rasa Shastras, if at all they can be considered. this is the kind of thing that I take.
Right. Thank you so much, everybody. And I think we are at the end of the hour. So Vivek, if it's okay, we'll just quickly roll forward and maybe you can just give your thoughts quickly if you want. But just to conclude, I'm going to propose Dr. Jayarajan, please take a lead and give us a steering committee first meeting date whenever possible. And I'll form a WhatsApp group by tonight for the steering committee, if everyone is in agreement. And then we can do our first meeting as the steering committee to take this little forward. And if everybody is on board, I will be sending out the details of the next meeting as well as the live document, which is the question bank and the suggestion bank. So Dr. Preeti, Dr. Hina, everybody who is not being able to speak today, please send us your comments, suggestions, and anybody else. I'm seeing a lot of thoughts in the chat box, but we can't take all of them because of paucity of time. So I'm going to request all the advisors to be kindly available on email at least, if we need to pick your brain and take your guidance. And again, you know, we will have to be patient and pragmatic in moving forward because this is not an overnight thing. It's a mountain of work, but with one step at a time, I think we can climb to the top, or at least aspire to. So with that, I think if with everyone's permission, we can conclude, and we can take all the other thoughts offline via email. I hope this was useful, and I hope this can continue to become that body that is kind of taking the weeds out of the ship that continues to move forward, you know, just helping to clear the way. That's it. Yeah.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Vivek, you
Pratibha.
want to say something? Yeah.
Yes, so as an action item, specifically for US to prevent what happened in Australia, with our friends here like Jayarajan, Jayagopal, Virender Sodhi, Amit Guman, I'll be happy to volunteer and do a survey of consumers and patients to see what guidelines we as practitioners can provide to them to prevent the problem. And as president of American Association of Ayurvedic Practitioners, we would like to put it on our website and provide it to this council too.
Thank you. Thank you for that. So we meet in steering committee and we can take it forward from there. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful rest of your day or night, wherever you are, or afternoon. Thank you so much. This was very stimulating, and it's just, you know, beginning of something special, hopefully. Thank you so much. Thank you
everyone for your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. Pleasure.
Organizing committee, please stay back.
Should I stop the recording and the YouTube?
Yes. Oh, yes, yes, please, both.
Do I have permission to go, or?